Hey guys, what's up? How's it going? It's just me and Fredrick tonight at the moment. Probably Chris will show up later on tonight, I'm assuming. If not, whatever. We'll just do without him, I guess. It's all good.
Yeah.
But hey, everybody in the chat so far. Hey, Earl, Jamie, Richard. How's it going, buddy? You're going to put it on your speakers on your deck again so your neighbors can listen. Yeah, I remember you did that last time. That was funny. I stopped believing in global homo about 5 years ago. Hey Jamie, what's up, buddy? Hey Slavey, what's up? Hey T, and thanks for joining me, guys. There's about 10 of us in here already. That's pretty good. So how's your night going, Fredrick? What are you up to?
Not bad. Just recovering. I was sick for 4 days. Yeah, I was.
Oh, really?
Had some nasty virus. I don't know. I've never experienced anything like that before. I was weak, shivering, hot. My back felt like my skin was ripped from the well, my skin felt like it was ripped off from my back, and everything was sensitive. It was really weird, and I just I'm feeling much better, so I'm just recovering. It was a weird virus.
Really, the swine flu, probably. Did you get your vaccinations?
I'm Muslim. I don't eat pork. No, I'm just kidding.
Right.
No,
Get the fuck off. Get the fuck off my channel.
No, man. I'm just kidding.
Right now, you invader.
No, I don't eat too much pork.
Get me banned.
Like a little bacon once in a while if I go out or something, but it's mostly beef and chicken. I'm actually going to cut back on chicken.
Well, yeah, we got some stories lined up for you guys. I guess we'll start off with, did you guys hear about the sticker linked to white supremacist movement pop up in Whitby? Here, I'll do a screen share. One sec here. Let me share it. So yeah, stickers linked to white supremacist movement pop up in Whitby. It's not called something Yaldaz Sedakova expected to see in her community or anywhere in the country for that matter. But there it was, a sticker with the words, "It's okay to be white," a seemingly innocuous message with a sinister purpose, as she later learned, posted in the park near her home. So it's like, I guess she didn't really think too much of it at first, but then she later learned it was a white supremacist thing. But
I call hoax hate on this. I call hoax hate.
Yeah, did she initially have a problem with it or something, and then she learned later that it was a white supremacist thing? Like, oh, what do you mean it's okay to be white? What are you talking about? So as you guys see, it's like posted right there. But look at the
name. Look at the name. Look at the name. Yaldaz Sadakova.
No, I looked her up, and
is that a Russian Muslim?
She's Russian, and yeah, she is a Muslim.
Told you.
And with the Whitby resident who regularly goes for walks and runs at the park behind Bellwood Public School said she first noticed the sticker about a week ago in 2 different locations in the area, including on a Town of Whitby sign. A quick Google search traced it to the ties with white supremacist and neo-Nazi groups. And, this is the funny thing, like how 4chan has successfully trolled like all of mainstream media with this. But it does expose the left for their anti-white racism. Like, oh, what do you mean it's okay to be white? Like, are you kidding me?
Oh God, I gotta get the shredder out, man. Shit, I don't want to get caught. That's awful.
Right.
Move on.
I thought that was awful. First of all, how could it be that in our midst there might be somebody who is thinking these kinds of thoughts and posting these signs? So it's really that bad to think it's okay to be white. The other thing is to put these kinds of racist signs right behind a school. Some of the students might have already seen them.
Oh dear, the poor children.
And they just talk about where they originated on 4chan. And then she's like, is originally from Bulgaria and immigrated to Canada 6 years ago. She said her family is Muslim and she doesn't practice herself. She found the signs disturbing, especially in the wake of the recent mass shootings at the 2 mosques in New Zealand. So,
Bulgaria. Okay, so I can tell you, just from the makeup, I'm pretty good with names, just being an Eastern European. I could tell immediately from that name, the last name was Russian, but the first name is Muslim, and the Russians have just as much problems with Muslims as the Chinese do. And then when she mentions she's from Bulgaria, again, it's weird because there isn't a very large population of Muslims in Bulgaria. So this whole story already is starting to sound a little bit hokey. And where's the proof, right? What happened to proof-based evidence? Where's are they going to do fingerprints? And in order for fingerprints to work, they have to have a database. So
I think they have been fingerprinting these
really?
cops and stuff.
So who's the culprit? Is it Jussie?
Yeah,
Jussie. I know it's Jussie.
But look at this. Like, it's just trying to spread that propaganda of white people are under attack. I am technically white myself, but I'm not Anglo-Saxon. I am a Canadian immigrant. So it just bothered me deeply to see these kinds of signs, she said. But, I don't know. And then later the mayor called it out as well. And he's like, oh, how dare, I'm disappointed. Said Mayor Don Mitchell, I'm disappointed to see these signs, anywhere in our community.
Of course, an Anglo-Saxon politician with the love for everyone.
Right. By law enforcement is now investigating these reports. So, yeah, they're wasting time, money, resources, just like they're doing in the UK with the same thing there. Wasting time when there's all these knife crimes going on every single day and night. Like, there's this one article right now. I am shocked. Turns out knife amnesty bins in the UK are attractive targets for criminals. So there's like these knife amnesty bins where you throw knives in, I guess. And one of them got raided in the UK. So it's like,
yeah, they're because of this influx, because of this cultural enrichment that we're getting. I mean, we're having to create some of the dumbest things around. For example, those what do they call those zombie laws that we have? There were leftover laws from ages ago, which don't make any sense. So they're going through them right now and they're eliminating them. But now we've gone kind of backwards as well. So you have those knife deposit boxes in the UK, but they also have piss boxes in France, where because these migrants just piss wherever they feel like it. So there's a picture of a video of a lady just, nicely, nice Parisian girl dressed nicely, walking by one of this guys pissed with his dong in this hole in this box, and he's pissing in it because they don't know how to use a urinal. Technology.
Yeah, that's fucked. Speaking of France, right? I saw this story from Voice of Europe. I'm sure you guys have all heard of them. An average of 3 church attacks per day in multicultural France. So, I just find that funny how we hear so much every time about whenever a mosque somebody throws bacon on it or something like that. But 3 churches every day in France are being vandalized. Somebody is saying in this article there's like shit smeared all over one. People are often going in there stealing chalices and stuff and selling them for a lot of money. So it's people who obviously don't have respect whatsoever for the people or the faith. So most likely, foreigners or something going in there and desecrating it. And yeah, it's disgusting, but the media is not going to cover this stuff because they don't ever want to portray white people, Christians, as being victims of anything. Like, the majority of people being butchered in the Middle East are probably Christians as opposed to Muslims, and they're being butchered by Muslims. But let's not talk about that. Let's not talk about South Africa and all the white people being butchered there and killed daily for farming, etc. And they want to steal their land. And let's not talk about the rhetoric being used by, the Communist Party in South Africa. I think recently came out and said, "Oh, well, we're not going to kill all white people yet," and the authority came out and found that wasn't hate speech or something. Like, I don't know. it's never in our favor. It's always
guys. I'm gonna. Do you mind if I play a clip here? Because I'm going. This is kind of fun. Speaking of churches, right? I think the church is the primary, like the ecclesiastics. They're the purveyors of what is the Bible and what is good, are the ones pushing this shit. So let me just share this. This is funny. And Jesus, if he's online, thank you for sharing this guy's channel. It's pretty funny, but I'm going to show you this right now and see if it shares. Can you see the screen? Can you see it now?
Yeah.
All right.
I saw it.
So you saw this one, right? So I'm gonna play.
Seen that.
Okay, so you know who this goofball is, right?
Yeah.
So he's there, you know, shaking Catholics' hands. Watch what happens. Watch his hands. Watch this. People are trying to kiss his hand. These are Catholics. Look at this. Watch this black guy's reaction. No problem. You can kiss his hand. Look at this. They do this slow motion. And he just keeps ripping those hands away. See?
It tastes delicious.
Yeah. And this woman tries several times. Yeah, he's a real goof.
He's a disgrace, this one. And like, you know, the Pope and all the people like them at the higher up of the churches and stuff, they're all corrupt. They're all child fuckers and shit and pedophiles. And, you know, this is what they do. This is what people, they do. They go and they corrupt these institutions. And, you know, I don't know, maybe they're always like this, but it seems that especially now of late with this Pope, he seems to be always pushing like the leftist narrative, essentially more globalism, more this, and maybe it's because he wants more Catholics, I guess, in America. Like he thinks all the, you know, the South Americans and stuff, they're going to come across the border are going to be Catholics. They're going to make more money to donate to the church. I don't know, or he's just a globalist. I don't know. What do you think about the Pope?
I don't. The Vatican holds huge areas of gold and silver and cash. It's a nation within itself. And meanwhile, they go around preaching that you should contain your vices of consumerism. But it's a very powerful organization. Actually, they've been... there was a very big case once. They were engaged with the mafia as well, laundering money. So as a Catholic, I would like to see that whole entire state cleaned up. But I don't have a lot of faith in this Jesuit. Jesuits are a funny bunch. To be fair, I don't know much. I don't have much detail on what Jesuits are, how different they are from regular Catholics, but I've heard through the dark web that they have some hokey history. But I don't trust this Pope. He's accepted homosexuals into the church, and you know, I'm against that. You know, and talking about that, by the way, what did you think about JRE's interview with Shapiro? Talked about that topic. Interview? Yeah. They talked about the topic Shapiro? Where I think it was today or yesterday. I saw the videos.
I didn't watch it.
So the question was like, would you accept homosexuals into the church? And he said, no, they shouldn't, because it's part of the doctrine and it's part of the religion. And why would you push that faith? And then Joe Rogan said, well, you know, you can't tell a gay guy not to be gay, but so how do you resolve that? And
yeah, you just say you're going to hell. Say you're going to hell. If you're gay, you're going to hell, man. Like, that's all I have to say. And I'm a fucking atheist. Like, this pisses me off. This whole thing with like gay people in the church. Oh, well, what about me? And I want to be a part of it, but I want to be a degenerate, and I want to do things that they oppose and they tell me not to do. But it's like, no, man. According to that religion, you're going to fucking hell. like it's, you know, the people, they need to like just come to terms with that, honestly. And I don't even believe that. I'm, like I said, I'm an atheist. I don't even believe that shit. But according to that faith, you're going to hell, and you shouldn't ask them to change it for you because you don't like it. You know, then stop believing it. But go be a Buddhist or some shit. You know, I don't care. I don't care. People, they have the right to believe in a religion that excludes gay people. So that's all I have to say to it. It's like, tough, you know, tough luck. Tough luck, man. You're believing in it anyway. So you're you know,
well, it's the first time I get it. And it's the first time I've actually seen Shapiro fumble. Normally he talks at a very high pace. So Rogan, I was surprised.
They just don't want to say it.
Rogan is a liberal, right? But
yeah.
Rogan kept, yeah. No, that's, you know, irrelevant in this case. But, you know, he was saying, oh, well, you know, Muslims, a gay person. Huh? Sorry?
Not quite. Because that informs his position. Like with his response where he's like, but what did Joe Rogan say to Shapiro?
Joe Rogan said that you can't tell a gay guy not to be gay. So it's like telling a heterosexual to be gay. It's not the same thing. And he says, sure, but you're not coming to my church. And, you know, in the Bible, it sets out strict dogma about that kind of behavior. It didn't say you can't desire another man, but it did say you cannot enter into a union with a man. So,
but see, because his atheist perspective was like, well, he can't change the way he is, right? And
well, you're an atheist. Do you believe that?
Yeah, I agree. And he can't change the way
I don't.
He is. No, he can't change the way he is. Probably, I think
that perspective. But I think, to me, I don't know how you consider it. I'm going down a dark path. I don't think gays are.
Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
I don't think gays are. I think they are not normal. Let me just put it out that way. I don't think gays are normal. Yeah. I don't think it's a normal lifestyle. Again, I always like to go back to organic mechanics and the functionality of things. It serves no function. So I don't think it's a normal thing. Like a person who's not born with an arm, all of a sudden you're going to say, let's go play baseball. No, you're going to respect that individual. You're not going to treat him any differently, but you're not going to also treat him like as something that's normal with a person with two functioning arms. And, you know, the science is not 100% there. They've done twin studies, and there's a lot of pretty good refutes to those studies, but, you know, they're still continuing with those studies that the impacts of the embryos based on hormonal changes in the woman can impact brain development, and hence maybe could lead to the possibility of homosexuality, higher propensity in men than in women. But nevertheless, I don't think it's, I think it's a disability that should not be treated any differently than someone who is born with autism or with one arm and stuff, right? But to treat it as something that's like normal, no, I don't agree to that. And I'm an atheist, so.
Right. And the thing is what I was trying to get at is that, like, Shapiro and some people like them, they're looking at through a religious perspective, right? And they're looking at the doctrine saying that, you know, gay people, like, gay sodomy is condemned multiple times in the Bible. It's pretty clear, right? That you're not supposed to be gay, and he's not going to like accept you into heaven. And then there'll be these people who'll be like, but God said love everybody, and so that's super. No. You can still love the sinner, right? You can still love the sinner. It doesn't mean they're going to heaven. But from a religious perspective, like Shapiro or some other religious person, a gay person, they're going to hell. And I respect that as an atheist, like that is their belief. I'm like, that's your belief, and I agree with you as well that it's not normal, gay, and we shouldn't promote it as normal, like transsexuality and all that other stuff. But I believe that it's natural in a sense that it expresses itself in other animals as well as humans, and it's been doing it for thousands of years. So
it's a slippery slope, right? Because
it's not something that we should obviously all do, because if we were all gay, there would be no human beings right now. Like we wouldn't procreate.
The fact that the fact that you can shtuck another man up his poop or poop shoot, that is not designed for that. It can be damaged and stuff. So again, functionality, right? And the other thing is that, fine, I understand if that's what you prefer, and I have no problem with it. But once we start accepting it, right, where do we end it? Because I believe the root of all our problems today in these marginal groups like the trannies and stuff, and it always goes one step further. And where did it start from, right? It started from these group of people who said, hey, you don't want to bake our cake? Well, screw you, you have to bake our cake. Oh, you don't want to let us marry in your church? Well, screw you, you have to let us marry in your church. And it just goes on and on. The next step was then, because remember, it used to be LG, it was just a few letters, right? Lesbians and bisexuals and gays. Then it would become LGBTQRX, WY and 00100, and it just keeps growing from there. And it's a slippery slope into a Caligula era of debauchery and just, what can I say? Like devil worship, Satanists. That's what's the next thing, right? Because the next taboo is obviously, I believe we already passed the taboo of pedophilia. They're pushing it like it's a normal thing. And the next one is cannibalism they keep talking about. Anyways.
That's right. Yeah, I agree. There's that slippery slope, and, we can go down. But like at some time, too, we got to accept some things regardless of the consequences in some ways. Like I think we can accept that, like, there's some people that have gay urges or something, or it's sure. It's like not that sodomy is natural, obviously not, but like the urge or something will express itself in like a small percentage of people, and it's like obviously not something that's normal and whatnot, because if that were the case, then we would be all, humans wouldn't procreate because we all be gay. It'd be stupid, right?
Actually, I think there was I watched a YouTube channel once. It was I think you and I watched him together. I think it might have been Vertigo Politics or someone else. And they talked about in days past, gays were in relationships with women and fathered children. They tend to also be higher predominantly intellectually. I don't know if that's accurate, but let's just for the moment say it is. And they stayed in these families, but they would on the side take in those sexual urges with other men, fine. But they maintained a family. They procreated. They created heterosexual children who went off to universities and stuff. And it seems like we have a lot less of that now because we've broken that up, right? Because a man can still function as a seed depositor.
Well, it's funny you talk about that, because I was just listening to a podcast with like Stefan Mudiner talking to this other guy, and they were talking about A Streetcar Named Desire or something.
Oh, yeah, that old movie. Yeah, I know that movie.
How there's like there's a scene where the girl, she tells the guy that like, I saw what you did, because there's a scene where I guess the guy was sleeping with another older man. And and like, you know, that they're talking about how common it was back then for people to do exactly what you were saying. And also the author as well, they're like the Timothy, or I forget his name, but he was just a massive degenerate, you know, as well. And like just did, you know, he was gay and did a bunch of like, you know, kind of like fucked up shit. And, you know, that is what they're talking about. A lot of the art that is in the poetry that has come out in the past like 19th century, or not even 19th, but 20th century, has been really, you know, nihilistic, very, you know, there's no heroes per se, you know, kind of like the old stories we used to get. And they're like, maybe that's contributing to today why we're so like, you know, like our heroes are like, you know, people with like a lot of flaws, right? And that can be good in a sense to kind of humanize them, but it does remind me of when I was reading like this book about Greek, or, you know, these Greek philosophers or something, and they were talking about stories, right? It was like Socrates, and I think it was Socrates talking to this other guy. And he was talking about stories, and the stories that we're teaching our kids, and how you know, the stories that they didn't like were the ones, I forget what it was, but some of the ones that we think are like, you know, what all the Greeks loved and stuff. I'm trying to remember, but a lot of these guys, they had like a lot of faults. They had a lot of, you know, they killed the mother and raped the daughter. And he's like, you know, like these were bad role models for our kids to learn, you know, these stories. Like we need to teach stories with heroes, with like, you know, values, with, you know, where they're doing stuff like righteous things again. And I think if we start, I think that's something that the media has definitely taken advantage of as well, as like, you know, the movies that we see, the stories that we always tell each other, the ideas that we're constantly being fed are always kind of, you know, accept everything. Oh, it's okay that there's this and that. It's okay that you're a degenerate. It's okay that you're this. And there's no more like ideals to look up to, like Achilles, or, you know, like these people that were, you know, inspirational. We don't have those types of stories, especially it seems like anymore. So it's very nihilistic. And you know, but if you want to interject there.
No, I fully agree with you in that respect. I mean, if you read some of the ancient texts and stuff, I doubt it. I could be wrong. I haven't read like every freaking book on this planet. I'm reading constantly, but some of the ancient texts and philosophies don't talk about homosexuality too much. They're not part of the stories, right? The heroes are set apart from that. Maybe they were gay, who knows, right? But they don't talk about it as often as they promote it in today's modern media. I think I mentioned this before. Even with my kids, I had to limit the amount of TV that they watch, or cartoons, for specifically Voltron, which was my like go-to cartoon when I was a kid. Coming home, and we had the after school shows. And, you know, they had this new modern take on Voltron, and the main hero, the lead, is gay. And they writ him in with his boyfriend there, and they were kind of like hugging and, you know, mock kissing. And it's like, why? How does that advance the story? What does that do to the children? Yeah. What are you trying to say? It's pointless, right? So you're seeing it in all this media, but, you know, and these are supposed to be like these heroes of the so-called universe, but I don't understand it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. All of our heroes are now women, gays, anti-white racists. Like those are the people we're supposed to look up to.
Well, and that's a good point you brought up, because the love interest of the main hero in this cartoon series was mulatto man. So
right.
the white man and the mulatto man.
Look at TV and look at every commercial you see. Look at the couples. You know, what do you see? 90% of the time, it's like some black dude with a white woman. Like that's what you see all the time. And all the leads now, they're like, they'll never cast like a white man with a white woman anymore. It seems like in like commercials anymore. And it's like, and I don't even have a problem with race mixing or anything like that, obviously. But when you just see it constantly being pushed on you, and you know, I see a lot of people and minorities and stuff that say the same thing. They're like, what the fuck? Like every commercial I see, it's like, you know, they're multi-ethnic, and then there's like some mixed kid or something like that. And like this thing, I don't have a problem with that, but it makes it seem like I do the more they promote it, and the more that I have to kind of call it out and be like, hey, and it's like, hey, what are you, anti-gay? It's like, no, I'm just sick of you promoting all this gay shit 24/7 on everybody, on your kids, on children, you know, having transsexuals read to your kids in libraries. Like, you know, that's too far.
Are you familiar with the new Netflix cartoon? So it's a cartoon, but apparently, because when you open up Netflix, you get two sides: the kids channel versus the adult channel. And now they have a cartoon. It's like they're 5 transsexual superheroes. They're all men dressed like women. Have you heard about that?
It's disgusting.
Yeah,
that's disgusting.
Like, yeah. Anyway,
you know, it's just. And we're not even allowed to take our kids out of it a lot of the times. But no, you must go to school or we'll put you in jail or something like that. Like, no, you have to learn this. You know, we should be like the Muslim parents in the UK that go and protest, but they have an edge that we don't have, right? I think that what white people got to realize too is like we can't play the victim whatsoever. It just doesn't work for us. There's not going to be like sympathy. It's going to be the reverse. Instead of people being like, oh, well, these Muslims, their religious belief is, you know, stoning gays, throwing them off of fucking buildings, like in Brunei, the country that just passed that today, actually, in their law. And we're actually doing a trade deal with them with the recent Pacific trade deal with all these Asian countries, the CPTPP, and Brunei. We actually signed a trade deal with them, with Trudeau. And actually in 2014, they had Sharia law already instituted. So just like Trudeau, the government already knew that was in place, but they still did a deal with their feminist government. Like clearly their policies, their bargaining tactics didn't work. And it's funny how they don't call them out considering how small of an economy they are. And you're like, you know, you're not going to call it these Muslims right now that are stoning people that just passed this in their law to stone adulterers and homosexuals. But, you know, I don't know. Check out the chat here.
I'm just going to, while you're checking out that chat, I'm just going to share my screen to show you what I mean. So, can you see this?
What about the reboots? Hold on one sec. Kel, question. What about the reboots? Just another platform for ethnic representation? What do you mean? What do you mean the reboots? I don't understand your question.
So check out the screen here. You can see here these are drag. These are men in drag that are they're all men, but there's a fat chick there or fat guy. I don't know what the fuck.
Gross. And that's for kids.
It's drawn and it's geared as for kids. How do they protect them? They put it on the side of the adult channel, but the kids can access the adult channel because they will also put children's cartoons on that side. So even if you, for example, let's say you lock down the adult channel, I doubt that you'll be able to. I'm pretty sure they might be able to still see that on the kids side. You can see where Netflix is going, right?
Right. Yeah, you know, Netflix is a degenerate company. Once again, they're degenerates.
Yeah, well, where are they from? So, who here in the chat and yourself is familiar? When I say Semite, what does that mean to you?
I don't know, like Arab or something. Brown.
Okay. Well, when you hear anti-Semite, what does that mean to you?
Jew.
Right. So, a Semite is someone of Jewish or Muslim background. They come from that area. I'm going to show you something, and everyone in the chat.
Oh.
There's
Oh, I get what you mean. Sorry, Fox. You meant the reboots of all the movies that they're replacing with ethnic people. Yeah, I know what you mean. That's frustrating. What were you saying there, Fredrick?
So often people mix up when they see, they invent these terms, right? So anything that these especially these groups that are very religious and indoctrinated and pious, and if you're not part of their group, you're an outsider, you're evil, you're meant to be claimed as chattel. So here's an article from National Post. She fled a Jewish Taliban sect with her children, then kidnappers tracked them down. So you see, they're very much like a Muslim sect. If I scroll down, you'll see a picture of one of them. You would think, oh, this is a Muslim. No, it's not. It's an extreme ultra-Orthodox Jewish group. They came to Montreal. They were actually in flight. So the groups actually share very similar heritage in where they come from, that region. So I just want people to understand, when you hear anti-Semite, just laugh it off, because really you're saying, oh, well, I have a Muslim friend, and watch their faces go like red. Or if a Jewish person says, oh, you're an anti-Semite. No, I love Muslims. They're the best people on the planet, man. Seriously, they are. So, this is the wordplay, word salad that the politicians like to use on Canadians today, like Islamophobia, racist, which was a positive word. It was no different than jovial. It was used by the French to describe the Slavic people and the way their modus operandi. Gay, being gay was a word that was used as a jovial. Hey, you're gay today, and you're very happy, right? That was bastardized. And the word Semite, which was description of where these people came from originally, is now, you're an anti-Semite, you're an anti-Jew, or Islamophobic, you hate. And they use it, like, if you disagree or dislike or just have questions about their faith, you're labeled as an Islamophobe. A phobia is a fear of something. Like, I have a real fear of heights. So yes, that is a phobia. I don't fear Muslims. I may disparage them. I don't believe in their lifestyle and how they lead, and they can do whatever they want, because
Islamophobia, it's an irrational fear, right? Whereas it's if you have a fear of Muslims, it's rational a lot of the times. Like, yeah, I fear that a lot of them coming to my country, they're gonna want to institute Sharia law and blow me up. I don't know, or stab me randomly, like they're doing in the UK. In the UK, there's that guy on the loose, I think, still, where he stabbed 5 people. You hear about that? Just randomly, just stab 5 people. But like, so go ahead. I interrupted you there.
No, I don't fear them, though. I have no fear, because fear is submission, right?
But I mean, like, the whole their definition is false, because it's an irrational fear they're coming up with. And they're like, well, you're saying you have an irrational fear, but let's just say somebody does have a fear. It could be rational, right? Like, some people have a fear they're going to be mugged in a highly ethnic area with a lot of ethnic groups or something, right? Is that a legitimate fear, or is that a phobia, right? It's probably a legitimate fear, right? I'm not saying you need to live in fear, like, but like, you're worried, for, you know what I mean? Like, you're like, oh, I'm worried about these people coming into my country. Like, I don't have to be feared, but I know that they could hurt some innocent woman, you know, or I fear for my relatives or the women in my family, you know, like rationally as well. But
like, okay, for example, and I think I agree with you on this, and often I do a little bit of a like different take on it, on things, as you and I have spoken and we get to know each other better. But for example, like I don't fear snakes, but if I'm in the wild and somewhere and I know there might be a propensity for a snake under a rock or something, I'll avoid it, right? It's not that I fear it. I am cautious to it. Just like I would be cautious to a Muslim. I'm going to give him a wide berth, right? Because I'm going to be on my guard. That's not fear necessarily per se. And I think, you know, at times fear is good because it gets you ready, but extreme fear to me is submission.
Yeah, of course. You know, you gotta overcome your fear. You can't let it cripple you, but it's an emotion like any other emotion, and you gotta use it. You know, if you feel it, you know, then you try to overcome it, or you use it as a learning experience. You know, like what created it? You know, what can I do to prevent it, to make it so I'm in a powerful position or something, right? So you don't ever feel that feeling ever again, right? And yeah, you know, it is a weakness, right? But like you know, like I was saying, it's just if you're just thinking of it as like kind of an emotion. But you know, we don't have to get too meta on the word, you know, fear or whatever. But ultimately, like the word Islamophobia, like you were saying, anti-Semitism, racism. All these things were like created, and they're only ever really directed
used to white people,
towards white people, right?
Always.
It's all same with hate crimes, same with all this stuff. It's just to you know, silence white people. And I hate to say, a lot of it was created by like Jews that created these terms. And yeah, they come in and to white cultures a lot of the times and kind of like start to subvert it from the inside, it seems like. And then they start to like create these ideologies, you know, with like the Frankfurt schools. They got in to the universities and stuff in the 60s.
Freud was a part of it, you know.
Freud, you know, definitely. And yeah, his nephew, what do you call it? You know, Edward Bernays.
Yeah.
And then his cousin or whatever. But yeah, you know, you got all these people, and what we're really moving away from is truth, right? They're trying to fuck up truth and make us into cultural relativists, into...
How do you fuck that up?
You know, there is no truth. There is no this. You know, Freud, oh, it's because you want to fuck your mother. Oh, you know, you want to fuck all these people. Oh, it's because they're sexually repressed, right? Oh, they need to go and...
well, it's always been truth by numbers. So once you lose the numbers, they set the truth.
Well, it's a slow walk through the institutions, right? You know, like,
and then you know what makes me angry, which infuriates me to all degrees. I am watching like all these videos by Faith and you know Poseidon there, and I saw other ones with Iconoclast with these like this Irish guy saying, "Oh, we need to be replaced. We need to be replaced." I can't do an Irish accent for shit, but anyway, and it's like, what the fuck? Have you looked at yourself in the mirror? If you hate yourself this much, what people don't realize is that a lot of these other cultures are always trying to emulate white culture, pop, rock, the way we dress, how we act, the cars, the lifestyle. They are always trying to emulate the West. Which white? I'm going to use it in Jesse Lee Peterson's
Jared
terms.
Taylor.
You know, Jared Taylor. Which white people are emulating Indian lifestyle, African lifestyle, Chinese lifestyle? Which? None. Why is that?
Right. And I just saw this video, and it was kind of a little bit conspiratorial and stuff. And I don't know. I'm gonna take it with a grain of salt. But he was like, going on about here. I'll put in a link in the description, but it was kind of interesting. I recommend taking a look at it.
Is it a long video? Do you want to play it?
Yeah, it's pretty long.
Okay.
Here I gotta find it first, but it's kind of explaining, like, you know, he was showing Buddha and like some of the earliest depictions of Buddha and how he looked, and you know, it looked like a white guy, and he had like a like a beard, he had red hair, he had all this stuff, and there's like, you know, he's saying, like, you know, just about history and how we don't know a lot about what happened in our history type thing, and you know, I don't want to quote it too much or anything, because I just you know, it was a kind of a long video, but it was kind of like opened up some questions where I'm like, oh, like, yeah, like, why, you know, there's all this you know, like something about there's these tombs that were opened up in Egypt, and they had tobacco and cocaine in them. And that the only way that would really be able to happen is if there was trade going on across the oceans. And it was like, you know, in a mummy with red hair and all that stuff. And like, there's all these other tales of like these pale skinned people with blonde hair and that coming and teaching them stuff and then leaving, you know, all these different cultures and that. And they're like, oh, they brought us here to this island or blah, blah, blah. And you're like, that is kind of interesting. You know, I'm not gonna believe it per se, but it you know, he was going on about, you know, about our histories, how we're kind of taught to believe the Vikings were just kind of like barbarians and all this other stuff, right? You know, the Celts and whatnot, but yeah, they were actually more advanced. But and then he was talking about those elongated skulls as well. And he was saying, like, you know, people were at first saying that it was just the wrapping. That's how they were explaining it, like and that's what I thought as well, is
just like how they elong there's an African, right? There's an African tribe that elongs their neck with rings.
Yes, but there's also one that even elongates their skull, right? They tie
they tie
on their skull. But But this, when they do that, it actually makes the skull smaller, right? But with these older skulls, they have like a big, huge head.
Yeah, it was on JF's channel yesterday. We were talking about it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what I was telling you when I was on.
Right. But yeah, like, where the fuck I gotta find. It was in my history somewhere. You know, I had just watched it. Oh, okay, right here. So our subverted history, part 1, setting the stage. So I don't know. I only watched part 1. And I thought it was kind of interesting, but maybe I'll play like a little bit of it if
like,
works here.
Play it back.
Let me just share it in the chat here first. But check out this video, guys. I just shared it in the chat. You know, don't laugh at me if you think it's super conspiratorial.
You need a picture of that guy from Ancient Aliens. It's aliens.
Right. Here, one sec. Let me try to screen share it here. Okay. Screen share. Okay. Let's see if you can hear it. Let me know if you can hear it well. Let me just. Can you hear it?
Yeah, it's coming. Yeah,
it's coming in pretty well. How's the chat? Can you hear it pretty well, the chat? Oh, shit. Here, I'll go back to the video. Tell me if the chat's, because I have to keep it on this screen.
Yeah, I can see it. Let me go back to the chat here. Let's see. They said, yeah, they could see it.
Can they hear it, I mean?
Oh, hold on. Do you want to forward it a little bit? It seems like
how is it that we best hope to know ourselves?
I like the intro.
Individuals? We live short lives.
They said they can hear it.
Okay.
It's so easy to deceive ourselves with regards to our true nature. We can come to identify ourselves with the things we possess, or ephemeral beliefs we hold, or arbitrary lines drawn on a map, or our man-made political or cultural labels. At the end of the day, none of this is deeply real, because none of it is innate, coming from the inside out. The blood flowing through our veins is real. The genetic code that informs every cell in our body how to best express itself is something we inherit, something within us. When seeking to understand oneself, looking back at one's life can be informative. But this is a short period of time, replete with personal errors and missteps, and even more importantly, liable to be misunderstood or misinterpreted. But what if we lived 1,000 lives before, in slightly different manifestations and projections, amidst countless environments and conditions across the span of time? This is the power of history. The blood that flows through your veins has lived before, countless times before. An understanding of our roots helps inform us of who we are and how to best be and grow. Cut off from this understanding, we can't help but live in confusion and anxiety. It's a state of true ignorance. There's nothing more informative than an accurate picture of history. It's not only a record of our own personal journey, but of the intersection and intertwining of all journeys in a multitude of unique circumstances.
So on us, we're just playing a video back
Perfect context
based
here
on our discussion and hidden history.
Would lead to an unprecedented level of understanding of ourselves and our reality. Historical context is crucial, and without it, we're very much unmoored beings. We live in the age of the atomized individual, an age in which we're taught that we're all blank slates and fresh starts, entirely shaped by our environmental impulses. And it's true that your every external impulse does shape the expression of the true you within. But at our deepest levels, the blood flowing through our veins and the genes we were gifted with still remain the central pillar around which all else rotates. The pillar that contains all possible expressions within it. Understanding this central pillar is profoundly important. I've begun this video series to help counteract what I see as an attempt at obfuscating, mischaracterizing, or destroying our understanding of our collective central pillar. The subversion of our conception of history and of our historical roots. What scant history we're now taught is often dull and lifeless, a recitation of dry facts and figures by professors who feel no connection to the subject matter, a tedious sermon often delivered in a nasal monotone. But it's more than just poorly delivered. It's often wildly dishonest, misinformative, robbing us of that power that comes from true understanding. One can't properly orient and direct their future.
How's the chat liking it? I can't see.
I don't know. They're just talking amongst themselves. Maybe we want to stop the video because it's, and we'll put it in the description in the video and then also in the chat.
Let's see something.
All former greatness of their regions to themselves. Various organizations have been created to lock down important sites and control archaeological research and the processing of all artifacts. Back in America, the Smithsonian has a nasty habit of misplacing countless artifacts that don't cleanly fit the conventional model of history, never to be seen again. And the youth are taught that it's practically heroic to tear down statues of white historical figures of old. In Sweden, the new Minister for Culture of African descent has ordered Viking artifacts to be melted down and recycled. On every front, from every angle, history is being destroyed and rewritten. This has been maddening to watch, and I've not even scratched the surface with what I just laid out. It's clear to me why this is happening. Since I began the process of immersion in the most trustworthy historical records I've been able to find over the years, I kept coming back to the thought that a truly honest and objective historical account, if written in our age, would appear as the single most racist book ever authored, assuming one defines the word racist, referring to a belief in differences in ability or achievement, as opposed to racial hatred. The same forces that so...
Let's stop it there. That's pretty some good. He's raised some good things. I know he raised that piece. What do you call it? About the Vikings. In Sweden, they're melting down a lot of the Viking and burning it and just trashing a lot of the Viking history or historical artifacts. It's just crazy in my respects. Like why would you do that? But you know, they are under an influence that I think is greater than what we can understand, because either it's Toxoplasma gondii or it's the fucking Large Hadron Collider. Like I know he was talking about the giants and this thing. I'm not going to get into that because I'm evidence. I like evidence-based discussions, but things like, what's going on in the world and why we have so many people that have been so easily brainwashed. This is the reason. And I wanted to talk about this, like what the Chinese do, or what, in your last video, we were going back and forth in the comments. We were talking about, the Chinese want to bring in Chinese, and that's normal, right? But it's the whites. It's a lot of the white people that we have to combat with, because a lot of those people are the ones passing the laws. And the white people are also putting in people into positions of power that are not white, that are pushing for their own in-group preferences. So Assad, what's his name? Ahmed Hussein. What's her name? The girl from Scarborough Writing. I can't pronounce her name. She was an Indian who was pushing for Indian issues. In Brampton as well, you have Jagmeet Singh and now his brother going for politicians. Where the problem is, it's white people. That's the problem. It's not them. They do what they want to do, and they'll do what's in their best interest, right? So how do you communicate that to those idiots that just are the antithesis to good common knowledge?
Well, because white people have been taught not to have self-interest, and then we're bringing in people that do have the self-interest of their group, their collective, right? So it's just a bad combination. It's a bad mix. We have people, we have a culture where we have, it's not, we have meritocracy, where we don't, where we do kind of like look past the book, don't judge a book by its cover, right? Like we kind of have that is ingrained in our culture. That is something that we have in our culture that a lot of other cultures don't necessarily have. And that's just not a good combination for us. That's why we shouldn't be multi-ethnic and stuff. And it's like, yeah, it's not their fault, like per se, like the guy, the story I did, he was an MP, this Sikh MP guy. He's the one that introduced, the whole Sikh month or whatever. But it's like, yeah, that's what people are going to do. That is what they're always going to do. But that's why I was bringing up in the video, like, hey, like this is why we need to stop importing people, because they're always going to fight for their own self-interest. They're always going to worry about their own people first. And they're never going to think of us all as like a collective Canadian people to watch out for and take care of, right? We're always going to group, separate in our own little groups and shit, right? That's the only problem I have, right? And it is white people that are opening the borders and bringing all the people in. And it's the white people that are convinced that it's a good idea to bring in and replace us. And I saw this thing by Vox today. It was an article talking about immigration in America, and it was showing how you know, just the how the ideas since 1994 now have completely changed. Like immigration among Democrats, it's like way up, you know, for the support, and even among Republicans, it's still up. And then same with like black people, it said like, do you think that they should get reparations, etc. And like 1994 was like 34% said yeah. Then now it's like 64% of Democrats, and you're like, you know, they've been programming us for so many years to, you know, oh, feel bad, oh, it's, you have privilege and it's because of, you know, you have generational wealth and you have all of this wealth because of your ancestors enslaved these people, and they don't have wealth because they've been enslaved, and you need to feel bad and you need to give us money, blah 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 blah. And
it's massive insecurity.
Right.
Like, for example, I'll give you a story. I had an argument, an unfortunate argument that got me. I was a little bit worried that it might escalate. I know this individual for quite some time. I've worked with her for a couple of years. And I find her a lovely lady. We talk about her kids and stuff. And she said she's black, right? And I have no issues with her otherwise, other than that argument. And we started talking about, because there's a lot of Indians where we work, and she's very upset because she's like, oh, I feel like I'm being, you know, like I feel claustrophobic because I don't see a lot of like white. She's used to be having a lot of white people, but also some black people as well, right? But more and more we're being replaced in the work environments too, right? I see it visibly every day. And so that opened up a conversation with me, and I started talking about, you know, in-group preferences. I said, what do you expect and stuff? And I said, can you believe this one other individual who she knows? I said, he's black. And he said, you know, he said something like, I had white privilege. I mean, can you believe that? And she went, well, yeah, you do. And I said, well, what do you mean I do? And first of all, she's a woman. She's nearing, I think, 60 years of age. She has a better position than me. She's going to retire. She's older than me, so she's going to have a pension at least. And I said, no, what do you mean I have white privilege? Like, what kind of privilege are you talking about? Like the Jesse Smollett privilege? Is that what you mean? Actually, it's the opposite. If anything, I'm at a disadvantage. You're the one with the privilege, because I could say anything and you could say, well, he said it because he was white, and I could get in trouble. I could lose my job. I can go to jail. I can get a fine. And she was so angry, so like she just exploded. And I said, well, and I was calm. I kept throwing facts at her, and I was very monotone in my discussion with her. And her eyes literally went red. I don't know if it's because when black people sometimes, you know, Asians, when they go red when they drink, and I don't know if it's a black thing, if they get really mad, their eyes tend to go reddish brown. And she was really upset. I said, you know, you don't have to get excited. And she goes, why you men always tell me we're excited? I said, what makes you because you don't understand. There was a black guy here. He had good education. He didn't get the job. Okay, so why did he not get the job? Well, because he's black. Well, how do you know it was that? Because most people I see now getting jobs are not white people. It's either white women, or Indian men. Like, so what are you talking about in terms of like my privilege? What privilege are you talking about? And I said, on a proportion, I can visually estimate how many black people are at my work, and I'd say it's about 3%, right? And it's about 90% Indian. And then you maybe have 5% white, and then the rest like Chinese and other cultures. So the chances of, let's say, if you just work out with the numbers, I like working with numbers. So the chances of you, let's say there's an executive position, and you know, with the pool of people applying for that position, and let's say they all might have merit, the chances of that black person getting that role is very low, because first of all, there's a very low population of them in that work pool. Second, there could be other people with the same qualifications or backgrounds. So how do you know? And she just got really angry with me, and then she said, you know, you all hate us. You all hate us. And I said, well, why would I hate you? What where would that come from? Because I don't hate you. I think most people on this floor don't hate you. And then she said, well, I said, what about Africans? What about, you know, I've seen Africans be pretty bad to other black people. Well, Africans hate us too. And I said, oh, okay. And I just left it at that because I knew that there was no matter how much polite and factual discourse I could throw at her, it was all emotional. And I actually mentioned even once, I said, why are you getting all emotional? And she got even angrier for the fact that I said, you're getting emotional. But I said, well, I'm only saying this because your pitch and your tone has increased from where this conversation started, where mine's been at monotone. And that's where I decided to kind of end it quickly and switch the topic very quickly, because it was getting to the point where this was going to become noticeable, right? And you can't have a normal discourse with these people. So what do you do with them? You ignore them. You isolate them. You put them to the corner and put a dunce cap on them, because there's no debating them. You have to mock them. You have to make fun of them. You have to demean them. You have to put them down. And as my father would do to show disrespect to someone, basically that's it. Because because if you don't, they grow and metastasize in number, and you see what you saw in Faith Goldie's video, where these people are just vitriol, like you're a European, you're a dirty European, blah 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 blah. Or in Poseidon's video, and you know, Jesus or Jesus, whatever you want to call yourself, Gonzalez, I think it's Jesus Gonzalez, pointed me out to Poseidon's channel, and I watched that, you know, European is not white. It angered me. Like, why are you telling me that European is not white? And this is all due to white people. It's a simple fact. And these people are...
Is it due to white people, or is it due to Jewish people? I don't know.
I don't know if it's strictly like to one particular group, let's say like the Jewish people.
I'm just saying.
I think, no, but okay, fine. So for example, like this, right? I say, if I come up and walk to you and tell you, you know,
not all Jewish. I'm just saying.
Like, I understand, like the Marxist ones.
Yeah, the Marxist.
The Zionist, Marxist, pious, whatever you want to call them, the ones that believe that they are the gift to the human race above all others, right? Like, they walk up to you and someone tells you, you are garbage. And you, on the other side, say, you know what, you're right, I am garbage. So how do you want me to get on my knees? That's what I'm talking about. So the guy... You have a right to protect yourself in the free market, right? You know, buyer beware, and it's an equal exchange. Same thing happens here. I'm more angry at the white people than these people, because I can't get upset for a rock being a rock, because that's what a rock is, right? It's just a rock. It's a stone. I can't get upset for a toad being a toad. But what really upsets me is how white people, and you know what? If you talk to a lot of, like, if you talk to my wife and other people, the Chinese do appreciate white culture. Otherwise, they wouldn't be flocking here. But they also laugh at it at the same time, because they're like, hey, yeah, we're going to do whatever the fuck we want, because it seems like you're all pushovers. I told you before, when there was her friend that came and says white people are stupid, and she came into my home and said white people are stupid, and I said, what do you mean? Well, you guys spend your money like stupidly, and you know, and I said, that's right. If it wasn't for our stupidity, you wouldn't be here studying at our university. Instead, you'd be back in China and in the rice paddy fields and eating off of feeding your family on bark and water. You know.
Right. Well, you know, it's yeah, obviously the only people to blame at the end of the day are the people who allowed this shit to happen, right? But you know, it's a nuanced, complex subject, right? Like, obviously you shouldn't be mad at people necessarily, but like, yeah, if a illegal immigrant like a Mexican, like hits into your car and kills your wife and kids, right? Yeah, you're probably gonna be mad at illegals, because you know, they broke the law. They came across the border illegally into the country, which they shouldn't have done, and they killed people. And you know, it's like, yeah, so we should and be mad at white people. That's why, but I keep trying to say that, like, oh, we should take ownership for what we've done, but nobody really wants to do that. So it's kind of like, you know, I don't know. We want the government to continue to go, and it's kind of the government that's facilitating our, you know, replacement at this point. So, like, what do we do? You know, nobody really wants to make any significant changes. Even a lot of the conservatives or Republicans, they don't want to do pretty much jack shit either. They just want to kind of keep the system going the way it's going, and you know, oh, who cares about the future? But I don't know.
Isn't it interesting how we've all put ourselves into this wonderful pickle, you know, prepared for us so beautifully, as if by inordinate design from a small group of people. So watch this. For example, we have two political parties. So we vote based on a group interest. Our group interest is now outpaced by the number of opposing interests, or let's call it minorities and in small in groups. And then you have these political parties vying for power. So normally conservatives were the choice of more white people or fiscally conservatives, right? Let's say there could be Chinese groups that are conservative, predominantly, many of them are. But now the liberals say, we're going to give you free shit, and you and migrants and immigrants can vote. We're going to also lower the age of voting to, you know, to make it even easier, right? Because a lot of these migrants that come to are very young. So they're going to vote for the Liberal Party. And the conservatives have no choice, right? They're like, shit, we want to get into power. We want to push our own policies. So what do we have to do? As a tactic, we'll have to then pander and marginalize our own support base, because that's what they're going to be forced to do. And as this kind of builds, they slowly forget what their roots are, and in order to let's say they get into power, in order to maintain power, they will just be like status quo. So you can see in our political party, because of our inept system for self-protection, is we start to form a singularity. We really don't have two political parties. We only have one. What we have is multiple political parties that share a common goal, but have let's say different spices or flavors of political policy. So it's very interesting to me that we've kind of worked ourselves into this. Like we haven't demonstrated to the, and we're not used to it. Like Canada is a very, we as an us as a group, right? Oh, yeah. Like we as a collective, that we've allowed, like we've allowed policies. Nobody see. Like in France, I mean, this yellow vest was just coming off the heels of a couple of years ago when they raised tuition fees and the students went mental in France. This is quite common in Europe, right? People just go and destroy shit because they get very, you know, the government tries to pull a one over on people, and then people go ape shit. Here we're a little bit more reserved. Canadians are a lot politer. It's a well-known fact. People will always say, oh, Canadians are polite, and they always want to help. Hey, how can I help you? Eh? And stuff like that. You know,
but the thing is, like France, they've been like degenerates and heading for like they've been on like the socialist path for so long, and it's like, you know what? They're like done. Those people. And our countries have been slowly like subverted over like 3 decades, whereas a lot of people were conservative. They were family values, all this shit, and then they got subverted through the educational system, through TV. Like we can't underscore the power of authority figures like teachers and all this stuff. Like you know, like that guy's story, like the video, if you watch more of it, you know, like about history, you know, kind of spinning history, kind of like, you know, fucking over, making white people feel like they're privileged and not teaching. Like, this is what they do. They teach all the bad stuff that we did in our history, and then they ignore all the bad stuff that other groups did in their history. So then people get the idea in their minds without even instruction.
Kind of how we're teaching that boomers are bad.
No, not at all. Not at all.
It's teasing. Yeah, I'm just teasing.
Yeah, don't get me into that shit. But like. No, it's I lost my train of thought now. What was I talking about exactly?
Sorry, you were talking about how the teachers and how like the system.
Yeah. We've been subverted, right, for many decades, slowly but surely. You know, you look at the TVs, the movies, the shows we're watching, right? It's the culture has been slowly changed, and you know, from the inside out, right? So we are to blame, though. We're still to blame. So I agree with you.
Yeah, and I'm just pointing out at a very interesting topic that we're kind of cornered ourselves, right? we are our own laws and processes and devices that we've created for the benefit ourselves, right? To live a prosperous and free of conflict, right? Because this is, you know, the drawbacks of a comfortable life, as Hobbes puts it, is that you forget to be a barbarian when in need, because sometimes in need you will need to become that barbarian, right? That savage, in order to protect your own your land. And you know, for a long time, a lot of us have, you know, lived through very comfortable times, and so we don't know, we've forgotten, so we don't see a threat when it's a threat, right? So
right.
You know, it's there, hey, you know, like there's a bear, and I don't worry, I got mace, I got this and stuff, but then you lose your sense of self.
Well, that's why women, like, I'm gonna piss off, you know, some of my audience, but like, you know, that's why women shouldn't vote to some extent. Not always. Some women, I'm saying, obviously, all the women in my chat here and stuff, I would want them to vote, right? But it all comes down to, you know, averages, right? So you're like, let's just say I was a part of a group that always voted for socialism. I would be like, hey, we should take away my right to vote and people like me, because then my country will be better, and I will gladly give up the right to vote, because you know, I will know that it'll be in better hands or whatever, right? But who is better at seeing danger, right? It's men. Men are always better at seeing danger.
We're designed that way. And
that's why you see that we're the ones that are like, hey, this Muslim horde that is coming into our country, maybe we should not do this. They're all young men. And then we're like, oh no, they're poor. Bring them all in, and you know, I'll bring them into their houses and help them. And obviously, not all women, but
yeah, see, like in the chat there, like they're already calling it out. Get them, Faye.
Yeah, but married women definitely typically vote more conservative. And Space Cat is right. You know, the married women. And not all single women don't vote conservative, but that's just
predominantly by the numbers. Yes, predominantly by the numbers. Statistics show that women tend to vote more liberal. But you know, it's very interesting that the person I worked with, another person, she's of Greek origin, and she's had like 4 brothers, and she'll say she doesn't like putting women into her team because they tend to get a little too chatty, and they start gossiping. She likes to have
I know a girl like that too.
She even told her daughter, she only has 4 daughters, and she says, I tell my daughters all the time to get some like friends that are guys, and I understood her, because I was talking to her about my daughter, who was like, she had a friend, and I said, what happened to your friend? Oh, they started talking against me, and they started gossiping, and I'm like, why? What the fuck? What was that about? And then my coworker was saying, yeah, that's how girls are. They just, you know, they're not, guys are just like, yeah, okay, fuck off, and and we're friends again, right? A few fists fly, and hey, we're buds again. So it's very different dynamics. I would think that that I would change the laws based on how our votes are predominantly distributed, right? Because I think per capita basis, there's more women to men. Is that, am I wrong in that? Maybe check.
Yeah, I would just make it a net taxpayer, and then that's, you know, then men and women can vote whatever, and that should be better than what we have right now. And obviously there's going to be some people that aren't net taxpayers that are good, that I would want to vote too, but we just got to think about it in like terms of averages and stuff, and be like, oh, okay, well, if we allow all these people who, like, you may vote right, but all the other people who don't pay taxes probably aren't going to, so maybe we shouldn't allow them to vote. But, like, you know, that's never, you know, this is utopian land essentially, right? You know, that we're talking about. Well,
that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. We've put ourselves backed into the corner. The only way out is to come out kicking, clawing, and scratching, because how else are you going to fix a system that's so lopsided that the rules have been used against us? Because those rules that we've created weren't for the rest of the world. Those rules were created based on Puritan Christian principles, on people who have come here a long time ago from England and France that toiled the land, and they developed those laws that are homogenous to their groups in France and UK. They weren't designed around everybody else, right?
Well, so look at Kel there. She just said, Happy Fox says women still support Trudeau 37 to 38%.
Yeah,
today.
Oh, he's got great hair.
Did you heard about, you know, they turned around on him during his speech?
Yes.
And then they walked out when Scheer did his, which I found is fucking hilarious. It's like, really? What did Scheer do? I don't even know. But we're just going to get out, walk out. But Trudeau, we're just going to turn around, and we're mad at you, Trudeau, but we're going to forgive you when election season comes around. Oh, it's okay, right? And see, it's like he can do whatever he wants. But
do you remember? Did you ever see that movie As Good as It Gets?
I think so. Is that with who's
Jack Nicholson?
Yeah. With that blonde.
Yeah, the Jewish girl. And then he's in an elevator. He's a novelist, and this corny blonde chick stops him in an elevator, and he looks very uncomfortable. And she's like, "How do you?" The character's name is Melvin Udall. He says he stops him. She stops him at the elevator. How do you write women so well? And he's very uncomfortable. And he finally comes out and he says it. He's like, I think of a woman. I think of a man, and I take away sense and accountability.
Well, that's the thing too. It's like we in society, we treat women like children. Honestly, we treat them like children, and a lot of women act like children, and because of that, and they're like, oh, but I'm a girl and I didn't know any better, and you know, I told him to stab that guy and for money, but I didn't think he would do it. Well, okay, we'll put you in jail. We'll put that guy that you convinced to go kill that person in jail or whatever. But you know, and that's a problem too. You know, we keep giving women, especially look at today, we believe them no matter what. We believe the Me Too thing. And I was reading an article, I think it was yesterday, and it was talking about, like, I think the Me Too, and it was saying, oh, it was really to hold white men accountable to assaulting women at work. And I'm like, really? It's just about white men, this Me Too thing?
Yeah. Like, what about the teachers? You know that most of the assaults on young students, sexual assaults, are perpetrated by women teachers? Yeah, right. So, you know, all this shitting on men all the time. Oh, men, you know, men do what's in their nature. They desire a woman. They want to procreate. I get it. You need to control those vices, right? It's like you're hungry, but you shouldn't be eating constantly, so you turn into some fat lard. It's a control. It's good spiritually to practice restraint. So. You know, when women talk about, like, Argenta, what's that actress's name? Argenta, you know, that Italian actress. She actually recently
Oh, you cut out.
regretted her Me Too movement. She's the one who started that. Sorry. You know Asia Argento? Can you hear me?
Asia Argento. No, I don't know who that is.
Oh, hold on. Okay. So Asia Argento is that actress from Italy that started the Me Too movement. She's the one who made the accusations against Weinstein, one of the first ones.
Yeah.
Well, we all know what happened with her. She was convicted of rape. I don't think she was convicted. She was. I think it's still in the courts. Actually, she was accused of sleeping with an underage boy and luring him into sexual acts. Are you familiar with that story?
No.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. That. Yeah, and that's funny. In Italy, they were like laughing at the kid.
Oh, they call her a whore. Well, they weren't laughing at the kid. In Italy, they despised that woman. Actually, they're very conservative there.
No, they were on stage and they were like, "Well, it seemed like you liked it," to the kid. It's like, it didn't seem like you were having a bad time, blah blah blah, because they were showing the pictures, you know, where he's taking a selfie or whatever with that girl. So, but yeah, all those people. They're just hopping, like they're using this to just take down some men. But it's funny how, once again, it's like talking about white men, but Harvey Weinstein is Jewish. You know, a lot of these other people, you know, are Jewish and shit. And you're like, whatever. You know, we really need to start to distinguish these two groups, honestly. But I got that other video I wanted to watch the other day. I want to show the chat this because I think they would get a kick out of it. It's that Hitler video.
Oh yeah, let's show that. Let's show that. That is hilarious. I think that's worthy of a watch.
All right,
I'm gonna go on mute because people last time on the last video said when I tried to interact with the chat, like the chicken was coming up. Yeah. So go ahead.
Yeah.
Play it. Folks are gonna enjoy this.
All right, guys. All right, I'm gonna play it here. It's pretty funny.
Nothing's showing, dude.
Nothing's showing?
No. Do you want me to share it?
Yeah, hold on one sec. 1 second. Okay, I guess gotta hit the share. Sorry, guys. All right. Is it working now?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you hear it fine?
And now, as we conclude the largest anti-racist conference of all time, we have a surprising guest that would like to make a statement to us about his struggle to come to terms with tolerance and diversity.
Let me know if the sound quality is okay for the chat. If the chat lets me know.
Should have done things differently. These days I am a changed man, and this is the dawning of a new day. I am now an avowed anti-racist, and we are going to crush racism once and for all.
This is amazing. I can see the headlines now. Adolf Hitler is an anti-racist. This could end racism for good.
Oh, it went dead now. I can't hear anything.
What do you mean, Hitler?
Too many Jews here. We need more diversity. Thanks to my new anti-racist organization, we are going to spice things up a bit.
Can the chat hear it okay?
Yeah, they can hear it.
Okay. This is by the White Rabbit, by the way. I'll share. I think their channel has been removed, so.
Diversity is good. Diversity is a strength. Diversity is what makes the Middle East so peaceful.
So you are not a Nazi anymore?
Oh no. Quite the contrary, actually. My anti-racist organization is lobbying for an open border policy for Israel. Non-Jews have just as much of a right to be here as anyone else. You cannot restrict the country to a specific group of people. That's racist.
Many people would think it's ironic that you, of all people, would end up leading anti-racism in Israel. Why did you choose this country?
Israel is a rich country. Only the racists would oppose non-Jewish immigration.
I think there's a resurgence of anti-Semitism because at this point in time, Europe has not yet learned how to be multicultural. And I think we're going to be part of the throes of that transformation, which must take place. Europe is not going to be the monolithic societies that they once were in the last century. Jews are going to be at the center of that. It's a huge transformation for Europe to make. They are now going into multicultural mode, and Jews will be resented because of our leading role.
Israel has not yet learned how to be multicultural. My organization is going to be part of the process of that transformation, which must take place. Israel is not going to be the monolithic society it once was. I'm going to be at the center of that. It's a huge transformation for Israel to make. We are going into a multicultural mode. I might be resented because of my leading role, but without that leading role, and without that transformation, Israel will not survive.
I hate racists and people who oppose this wonderful development. It won't be easy, but Israel will be multicultural. And we're benefiting financially and culturally from immigration. An open border policy is a good thing for any country. I'm proud to say that I support diversity and multiculturalism.
The Jewish people have a right to exist as a unique people.
Ah, that's racist.
No, I'm not racist, but...
Well, I thought I heard you say you want to preserve your people.
Yeah, I think we have a right to preserve our culture and our people.
Ah, that is racist. So you believe you are God's chosen people? Some kind of master race? That just reminds me of the brown shirts in the 30s.
I'm not racist, but if this process continues, we'll be a minority in our own country.
Stop whining. Go and have more Jewish babies if you are so concerned.
Hold on, Hitler. Israel is being overrun with non-Jews because of your open border policy. It won't matter how many babies we have. We will still be a minority in our own country. Your policies will have destroyed us.
You Jews need to lighten up. Multiculturalism is great. Look at all the wonderful new restaurants you have to eat at now.
Diversity is our strength.
Diversity is good. Diversity is a strength. Diversity is what makes the Middle East so peaceful. And diversity is saving Israel.
Hitler, is this your new rainbow dating organization?
Of course. These days I'm all about the love.
You're just the same old Hitler, an anti-Semite trying to erase the Jews.
That's nonsense. How can love be anti-Semitic?
But you are only supporting Jews dating non-Jews. In fact, you are encouraging this. This multiculturalism and diversity agenda of yours seems to be just a scam to get rid of us for good.
Well, we could mix Asians and Arabs too. Would that make you happy? You are just a jealous racist who can't get a Jewish girlfriend.
No, I am not jealous of anyone.
See,
I just believe this is some agenda to get rid of us. You may be for mixing other cultures, but your policies will still lead to a world without Jews. That's genocide.
Little Zionist, take off your tinfoil hat. You have been reading too many conspiracy websites. Jews all over the world love diversity and multiculturalism. Because I love you, I have given it one more try. We heal the world, we are the children of the rainbow. Feels the world. The eyes and children of the dream.
Hitler. Many Jews don't like what's happening. The Jewish people being replaced with immigration.
Jews should just embrace their multicultural future. There is no room on this planet for racism.
Wait, Hitler, you never answered the question. What you're doing is genocide, is it not?
Nonsense. This is natural. People migrate and fall in love. Religions come and go. I would not burden myself worrying over all this.
Look around, Hitler. Everything's non-Jewish now. You have forced a genocidal scheme on us.
I am not forcing anything. I have not killed anyone this time. Remember, I am now an anti-racist. I don't believe borders should stand in the way of people and culture. Diversity is good. Diversity is a strength. Diversity is what makes the Middle East so peaceful.
Quel est l'objectif? Ça va faire parler. L'objectif, c'est relever le défi du métissage. Défi du métissage que nous adresse le XXIe siècle. Ce n'est pas un choix. C'est une obligation. C'est un impératif. On ne peut pas faire autrement. Au risque de nous trouver confrontés à des problèmes considérables. Nous devons changer, alors nous allons changer. On va changer partout en même temps, dans l'entreprise, dans les administrations, à l'éducation, dans les partis politiques. Et on va se mettre des obligations de résultat. Si ce volontarisme républicain ne fonctionnait pas, il faudra alors que la République passe à des méthodes plus contraignantes encore.
And diversity has saved Israel!
Oh, God!
Oh, God!
Funny.
Look, Hitler, we told you that your policy would make Israel non-Jewish. And I'm the only Jew left. You wiped us out for good.
Well, no one could have foreseen that.
That's good.
Oh my God. But it's like, you know, it's just all the same, you know, rhetoric that they use against us constantly. Well, I'll just go have more babies.
Yeah, isn't that what I thought? I was thinking about Frank.
Yeah, I know, right? Same thing. I was thinking the same thing. That's what, you know, you hear a lot of these same people say to you, even on our side. Well, just go have more babies. Then who cares if you're
Yeah,
being
you can't get you're gonna rent and live in a poverty situation and then be even more dependent on the government. Good plan.
Right. Yeah, you know, and it's just all the same stuff that they say towards us, and it's just, and it just shows you how uncaring it really is when you hear it from kind of that perspective. When you hear it directed towards another culture, like, oh, shut up. This is just love. How can you be against love and open borders? And oh, I'm just more cultures mingling.
If people don't know in the chat, that older lady of the shot where she's talking about having people come into Europe, and it's part of the plan. She is part of the Calgary, God damn it. Group, which is based off a guy who was like, he was really weird background, like half Jewish, a little bit of Chinese, Anglo-Saxon, and he promoted multiculturalism. He said it was supposed to be a part of Europe. This was Europe's fate. So his organization, and he was like a billionaire. He knew the Rothschilds and whatnot, and he created an organization later on. It was called the Charlemagne Prize, and in 2008, she was actually that woman, that lady that you saw in that video. She's part of that organization, and in 2008, they actually awarded Merkel with the Charlemagne Prize, which is, for multiculturalism and being having diversity and stuff like that.
That's hilarious. How they give the Charlemagne Prize, and think about that.
Charlemagne, I know it's contradictive to.
Like he was like against diversity. He went and like forced a bunch of people into Christianity.
He unified France, man.
Yeah, he unified. Well, not France. Like he unified like all of Europe, like France, Germany, England. Like he made.
Well, and he fought against. Like France was well loved in France. That
Charles
time.
Martel, well, Charles the Hammer, his father fended off or his grandfather fended off the Muslims invasion into fucking Europe and like fended them off, secured Europe. And then, he unified all of Europe and all that under his, and then he became like the first Roman ruler again, like the technical, they kept redoing it. But there was the Byzantine Empire to the east that was still going on at the time.
Well, it had fallen to the Turks. It was a sacrificial state, I think.
Well, that's why the Crusades were called as well, right? They were facing invasions from the Muslims and stuff.
Now you can see what happened with Charlemagne with the invasion, of the Franks, which were the Vikings essentially, right? And he actually changed their behavior to adopt a lot of the Catholicism, a lot of the kind of French or Germanic behavioral patterns.
Well, he was a Frank. They were Franks, I'm pretty sure. Like he was a Frank as well.
I'm not sure. I think so, maybe.
I'm pretty sure Franks were just Europeans. Like that's what like the old technical
Europeans. But when the Vikings came, they turned these people to essentially adopt the Catholic way of behavior, right? The daily routine, the Holy Sacrament, and all, right? Because there was like the being Catholic back in those days was a lifestyle, much to what Muslims do today.
Well, except the Normans and stuff too, right?
Right. So yes,
they were
exactly.
like French people.
Yes. So hence Normandy, right? But
right.
It's very interesting that you see how they switch things. Do you see how they play word salad? The Charlemagne Prize, which is really the Kalergi Prize, given to a Germanic person who, there's a video of her that some guy came out with a German flag during some small by-election, and she's like, she takes the flag and almost snaps the flag in half and gives it back to him. She's like, no.
Who did that?
Merkel.
Oh yeah, right. When somebody's like, she's like, just the frown on her face, like, ugh.
Don't do that. Don't do that. What's wrong with these people, right? So this is the problem, that we have a bunch of incipient little fools out there that go to school, and I don't know why so many people that go to school. I went to school. I was barraged with that shit all the time. I remember my high school.
Now.
Well, it's worse now, but it was just as bad then. I had a high school teacher that kept pushing the Holocaust. The Holocaust. Fine, we were learning about World War II. He was our Western civilization professor or teacher at that time. But then I would say about 40% of the class was then focused on the Holocaust because he was Jewish himself, right? A Polish.
Right. Well, that's why. Like, I don't remember that much, honestly, in my school. I don't remember too much. Like, I think it's way worse now. Like, it seems like the past 5-10 years, it seems like with the gay agenda thing, that's when it's gotten a lot worse, where they're like, well, since we accept trannies, then we're going to teach whatever, like, I don't know. It's always been bad. It's always been.
So let me, can I ask you something? I know there's been, can you confirm? I know there was in the news not too long ago, something about a grade school in California, or sorry, in Calgary, asking like a tranny to come to school to do like a tranny day. Is that true?
No, I haven't heard about that, but I
Okay.
wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, that's
Like the kids were asking.
No, the teacher, I think the teachers brought in a tranny and, like to understand gender fluidity, they brought a tranny in and said, oh, this is how we put on makeup and blah, blah, blah. So I'm not sure. I just wanted to confirm because I couldn't, I know I saw there was something that happened in the prairie provinces.
Yeah, well, I believe it. It's not a surprise if that's
Oh, actually, a lot of people say, Jesus is saying it's true.
true. Right. So, yeah, definitely
Sick.
they're going to do that.
Really
And
sick.
and that's the thing. We're going to have like that's what I don't understand. Like they're going to let do they understand like the Muslims aren't going to stand up for that either? Like that's kind of what's happening in the UK. And like, what are they going to do when that happens? Like, are they going to fight or go against the Muslims?
Should I bring my lawn chair with some beer and popcorn near a
I would
building?
like to see.
So you're gonna join me at the footsteps of a building with a lawn chair and some beer?
Yeah, right. It was the eventual, but I think a lot of them didn't see it coming. Like maybe the people who are setting it up did, but not the actual SJW like useful idiots. They're like, oh, we're all minority. I'm on your side. You're a minority. I'm a white ally. I'm going to fight for you. And they're like, hey, I hate gays and that tranny shit. And they're like, what? How could you say that? And then they always end up like, I don't know, cucking or something. They're like, okay, well, that's, I guess, your belief, but fuck those Christians and their anti-gay shit. Yeah, fuck you, Christians. That's the only people I think they feel okay with attacking.
Well, no. So, what do you think in the future? Are we going to reterm? Are we going to have a new sport, shot put, and it'll be called fleshy shot put? And we'll just people will gather around long concrete pillars and watch fleshy bags being, tossed to see who could throw the furthest. People will be sitting with signs there at the bottom. That was a great landing. That's a 9.5. What do you think, AJ? I don't know. It was a little bit bloody. Let's give it a 7.5.
Right. And I don't know. It's the future is going to be interesting. That's for sure.
Well, maybe that's the plan. Like, seriously. I always question this shit. Like, my mind, my problem is sometimes I just think too much and I'm always percolating thoughts. Like, for example, why would they be doing this? Like, they know there's going to be conflict, internal rife. And if that's the plan, wow, hello, conspiracy theorists. You guys are dead on the money, right?
Well, yeah, that's what I assumed from the start. Like, that's... I can't assume. I can't think people are this stupid, honestly. Like, there's some things that you see people say. Like, I can believe AOC is that stupid, and some people like her. Like, I can believe she's that dumb. But some of
you can't pretend to be that dumb. I'm sorry, you just can't pretend.
I think she's that dumb. I don't know.
No.
Just the look in her eyes.
No. I'm saying is, are you saying that she's an actress or that she's really stuped?
No, she's like a useful idiot.
Right. Okay. So we agree.
She's like a useful idiot. She
Because-
doesn't know. She believes everything she's saying. You know what I mean? Like, she thinks it's good, but there's other people pushing it that know it's not good, that know it's bad. That
you can tell a stupid person by the syntax they use. Like, you can tell when a person's pretending to be stupid because sometimes they slip and they might use words that are a little bit bigger than the $5 words, but a stupid person always uses the stupid syntax. Like, for example, the tippy top of the economic scale. Well, that's kind of a stupid way to explain things, especially from someone that studied at a Boston University in an economics degree. It should be a little bit more above the colloquial to speak in a way that you sound that you've studied the subject that you've studied. But these people like Trudeau presents himself as some of the dumbest people. like you watch his speeches when he was a kid, he's really full of himself, right? And there isn't anything of context, because when you're speaking, you should have very clear, concise points, and it should be condensed in a very shorter time frame. But he just goes on and on and on. Well, this great country of ours, it's all platitudes and emptiness. It's just, cow farts. And, you could see this across the plethora of all our politicians, including Scheer, including himself, because there's no better, how would I call it, testicular fortitude when you show that you're sure of yourself and you're completely magnanimous, which is beyond reapproach. For example, I always bothered me, and it's these small things that bother me, but these small things are the things that matter. We should look at the small things. For example, when he had that interview with Chatelaine magazine editor, and the conversation went, well, do you consider yourself as a feminist? And he chickened out. He said, well, yes, I do. Well, why didn't you spin that around, just like this video that you just showed? Because it spun it around. It played the game that those people set the rules to, and now you see how we can spin that against them. Same thing. Well, are you a masculinist? And the woman would be like, what do you mean by that? Well, I mean, do you believe in men's rights? Well, of course I do. Well, then I believe in female rights too. But he didn't do that. He didn't do that. Yeah, because he's scared. He's scared. And what's surprising is, what people may actually be sometimes surprised is that many women would respect the guy immediately. My wife being one of them, she'd be like, fuck, this guy's got balls. I like guys with balls.
And that's what they're misunderstanding, right? I think is they're like, they don't want to alienate certain groups by saying certain things, but it's just not going to get the support they need by not saying those things. Well, I even saw an article a while ago, they said what I said a while ago, where about climate change, where Trudeau and liberals have an edge because with Scheer, he admits climate change in the sense that like he wants to do something about it. He's like, oh, I'm going to have a plan. Don't worry. And how the media is like, it's been 600 days and he still hasn't released his climate plan. Oh, so, he's trying to play the best of both worlds, I guess, by appeasing the right, by not coming out with a plan, by saying that like, oh, I'm not going to raise taxes, but I'm still going to cut climate. Whereas, Bernier has a much better approach, and that's what Scheer should adopt if he were, more intelligent, is that like, no, fuck you. Climate or CO2 isn't an issue. That's what it is. Like, he's like, CO2 is fine. It's not a problem. Fuck climate change. Like the way Trump is doing it. Like, no, fuck that shit. I don't believe it. It's a scam, right? And that's
we can't. We're not Americans, so the problem is
no. But like I was saying in the article, like they even highlighted the part that like I can't remember what they called it, but they're like Trudeau that has the advantage because they both admit it, but Trudeau is the one who is going to go all the way, right? So Scheer is always going to look weak on climate change because he's not going to go and do all of these authoritarian things like carbon tax that Trudeau is going to do, but he's at the same time going to say, but I'm going to do something about it. So by doing this, he's convincing regular conservatives that, first of all, it exists and it's a problem. So then he increases the rate of conservatives that believe. And obviously, I believe climate change exists, but the whole narrative that they're spinning right now and what they're saying is going to happen, we're all going to die in 12 years. No, that's bullshit. That's a lie. That's just to scare us. That's all it is. Yes, we shouldn't be throwing plastic in the ocean, but that's 95% of that is coming from third world countries, etc. But, because Scheer is weak on climate change, he may as well not even support it at all because of his complete weak stance, because Trudeau is always going to look like the better in that situation always. And the same with him pandering to women and being like, Trudeau is a fake feminist. Oh, don't worry, we help women too. Oh, look how strong and powerful Jody Wilson-Raybould is. Well, that's not going to work either, because now, you know, you're never going to pander as well to women as the left is going to. You're not going to offer them as much stuff. So you may as well go your route, like you were saying, like, yeah, I'm a misogynist. Fuck you. No, I'm not a feminist. Women don't have it tough. Tell the truth, and you'll probably get a lot more women voting for you. You'll get them their respect. Plus, you'll invigorate a lot of probably non-voters to go vote for you as well as conservatives and everybody else, right?
Well, the other danger is like this. It's twofold. So, for example, if the guy goes around, let's say you're a conservative candidate, and you go around and you speak truth to power, which is, you know, there's too much migration and focus on immigration. There's too much focus on climate change, you know, taxing us heavily. We have a very low climate footprint, too much focus on sexual deviancy, and everybody's going to be like, "Ooh, look at this guy, the racist." Like, well, that's fine. That's my stance. You don't have to like it. So the thing is, you will rise that base. You may not win in like this coming election, but in the next election, maybe possibly, because because these Muslims, hold on, these Muslims are conservative. Their religion is conservative. Chinese are conservative. The problem is trying to pander to these individuals. But if you pander from the beginning, you're still going to lose in the end, right? Because then you're going to be looked at as by your own basis, like, well, like, you see this guy, kind of like how I was with Faith, right? Like I was backing her for a support of being a mayor. I offered to help her in what any way I can in counseling. But, you know, when I start to see her in videos where she's pandering to the Chinese and trying to pander to the Indians, and then, you know, saying, oh, like, you know, we're going to help you too. And no, we're going to help Canadians, Canada. And if you want to remain on the line, on the border, then you just avoid the whole question of whites and this, and just focus on Canadian values and focus only on that word alone, because you again put yourself into a corner. It's very difficult. The other thing is, you brought up Trump. The American political system and the candidacy there is a lot more bloody, right? So they have a lot more persona, whereas in Canada, we're very dry. In the last Liberal election, if you remember, we had what was that guy's name? The French guy. He was from straight out of the university. He didn't get much traction. He used very big dollar words, and he was a little bit dry. He didn't have any persona to him. He was intelligent. He sits in the Liberal Party right now, actually, and he was a bit of a dope because he's not used to the public discourse. He's not out there. He's book smart, whereas Trump knows how to play the game. He knows the tools. He's a firebrand, you know, air dumpster fire, right? So we have kind of this Canadian atmosphere of being polite and too nice, not in wanting to offend. And I think we should kind of try to go more of the American route. We might be surprised, right?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That's why he needs to come out and just say, fuck climate change. I'm not going to do anything about it. I'm going to loosen regulations, and we're going to go back to business. That's what his pitch should be, right? And but the conservatives are pretty weak in that circumstance, right? And they're, you know, capitulating.
Because they're scrambling. Because they're worried. They see their base is, you know, the base is aging. They're being replaced, right? Because typically they were.
Oh yeah, they're trying to get ahead of the game and pander to other people, groups. Are trying to be like, okay, we're gonna have to play the leftist game soon, because the demographics and, you know, all this shit and in the future, like, they see they're not stupid, right? That's what I was saying before about how, you know, a lot of the people pushing this stuff, like, they're not like at the top. Like, there's a lot of useful idiots, but I really don't like the people that are completely lying and they know what they're promoting, what it's going to cause. Like, the people they want conflict. Like, that's what I assume. Because what does conflict do? Every time conflict happens, and they want specifically white people to do stuff, right? Like, look at now after the New Zealand shooter and the Quebec and whatnot, and the Pittsburgh, they keep like citing these three things all over the place. Like, there's white supremacists around every corner and every city, and it's like they're freaking out about this way more than they ever did about Muslims, who have killed way more people since than white supremacists or white people who they just say are white supremacists, who often aren't anyways. So they just lump all these things together. So it's like, you know, they're really trying to make us act out irrationally. They want us to be put in like a little community. They want us to be censored from Gab, from YouTube, from, I mean, Twitter, and only go in little echo chambers and stuff, because that will only breed more division. That will only make people more extreme and eventually go out and do something like the Pittsburgh shooter, like the fucking New Zealand shooter. And they want these events to happen because, as we see all over the world, in Canada now, they're trying to change laws because of that. And New Zealand and Europe, they're all like, okay, now we need to ban all guns. It's like, but that happened in New Zealand. Like, why are we changing our laws? But when Muslims kill a bunch of people, nobody changes any laws. But they want this. They want more division, conflict. They want to import different cultures that are gonna, you know, fight for their own people or whatever, and you know, possibly attack and rape the native population as well, which will cause even more division. And then when the white people retaliate, oh, you these racist white people, where it's like, you know, they've been getting beat, raped, attacked for years and years, and nobody's saying anything about it. So of course people are going to act up and do something, but that's exactly what they want. So now they can be, oh, well, now we're going to censor the internet because this is radicalizing people. Oh, now we're going to take away guns because now we got to censor free speech because it's bad. It radicalizes people. You know, it just gives them more reasons to take away your rights at the end of the day. You know, and I think they want this to happen. I think that they're not this stupid. Yeah, I don't believe people are this stupid to not know what they're doing. Like, if a roofer can see what the fuck is going on, then of course these liberals, a lot of them,
you're really a roofer. You seem well read. I think that's your.
I'm a roofer.
Yeah. But, okay, Professor AJ.
Yeah, no, I'm a roofer with a high school education, man. Like, that's it.
Well, you're way ahead of the punks that I see around me.
But yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I think that there are lots of useful idiots. I don't think it's a huge conspiracy. Like, most people don't know what they're involved in it. Like, most people have no clue that they're working to subvert us, working to replace us, but they're just, once again, useful idiots. But there's only a few people that really know. And, like, you know, the people up on top, the people in the European Union and all these people like that, like they know, or the UN, you know, the council and all these people, like they know what the fuck they're doing. They know the policies that they're creating. Like, look in Italy, there's this black guy that set a bus of children on fire, of a bunch of children, right? And I think a bunch of, like, 12 of them were sent to hospital, all this stuff. So, you know, and he did this because, you know, he's like, oh, because of the boats tipping over, you know, coming into Italy and capsizing and all these people dying. But, you know, like, we know why that's happening. It's because we have open borders and these people are incentivized to go on rafts and rickety rafts that are going. If we close the borders, that would stop, and there would be no more capsizing of Nigerians and all these other immigrants. But the people, the NGOs, the George Soros, etc., pushing this stuff, they know that a lot of innocent people are going to die and suffer, right? But they don't give a shit. They don't care. You know, they know all those leftists saying, like the Hondurans coming into America, they're like, oh, they're just to people trying to come in and live and all this stuff. Like, they know that they're going to be incentivizing a lot of sex trafficking, and a lot of those kids are probably going to be abused and raped along the way, because that is what happens. And a lot of them are probably going to be picked up and abducted. And like, a lot of these kids, like, I know somebody who's actually working on the inside on a lot of these cases with the Trump administration, and like, she knows, like, she was saying, like, so many of these people are criminals. Like, all these people coming across the border, like, more than half are criminals. A lot of them wanted for murder. A lot of the kids are not their kids. You know, a lot of the people willingly just left their kids there. They're like, nah, I'll just leave them. And now it's costing the American government tons of money, because they have to give all these kids eyeglasses. They have to give them dental care. They're filling all their cavities because they have to do that. But, you know, the people, the media that is pushing this stuff, that's trying to make you feel sympathy for these people, they know that what they're doing, you know, they're not that stupid. So it's like, yeah, it's like, fuck those people. You know, I can forgive the useful idiots to some extent, because you're ignorant. But those people like that know what the fuck is going on, and the politicians, like, they're really to blame, because they're, you know, you see them, you see Obama and all these other politicians in the past saying, oh, we need borders, and borders are good because illegal immigration is bad. Now all of a sudden illegal immigration is good. And 10 years ago, they understood the problems that illegal immigration caused with income and all this stuff, and they referenced all of it. But now all of a sudden, they reversed the position. So it's like, you know, they're scum. You know, these people are scum.
Hey, just late breaking on the top page of National Post. I want to bring this to the discussion quickly. Federal government hunted for person who leaked Omar Khadr's $10.5 million settlement payment, internal report. Wow. It was just published at 9/11, April 13th. Can I read this through? I'm going to share my screen with you guys.
Yeah, sure.
Give me a sec here.
Crazy. Fucking man,
this is bullshit.
It's amazing, like, how much Trudeau's administration, like, they're also, like, fighting against veterans again for something else. And I'm like, you people are, they're ruthless. Like,
they're just crazy. They're just garbage.
Ruthless.
So, federal government hunted for a person who leaked Omar Khadr's $10 million settlement payment. Privy Council office refuses to say whether it ever referred to the probe to the RCMP, as it did with the leak investigation into Vice Admiral Mark Norman. Internal report obtained by National Post reveals details of how the federal government launched an investigation spanning 6 departments and agencies to hunt. Wow. 6 departments and agencies.
Holy
That's
shit.
quite a bit of That's quite a bit of manpower there to hunt for who leaked information about a reported settlement with Omar Khadr in 2017. But the Privy Council office is refusing to say whether it ever referred the probe to the RCMP, which means they did, as it did with the leak investigation of the Vice Admiral Mark Norman. Absolutely. The internal report obtained through an access to information request also shows that the payment of the out-of-court settlement to Khadr was delayed by a day after public servants made a coding error that caused the transfer to be rejected by the Bank of Canada. Through the payment flowed to a bank account held by an unnamed third party. Public servants scrambled to fix the error and spent the next day monitoring the payment step by step until it properly transferred through the banks. Fuck me. This is bigger to me than SNC-Lavalin, because SNC-Lavalin has a record of bullshit, longer than, I don't know, whatever. I can't think of a metaphor right now. So news of the settlement was reported on Globe and Mail, identified as a source as only as a federal insider as of September 27, 2 months after the news story. The Privy Council office was searching for who leaked the media, the report says. The Post asked the Privy Council if the internal investigation ever uncovered the source of the leak, and the matter was referred to the RCMP, and if anyone who was ever disciplined or terminated over the leak. Stephanie Shank, manager of media relations of the Privy Council office, sent a statement that did not answer the questions. Quote, any disclosure of the confidential information is a breach of the public services values and ethics code. Right. It said, as public servants or civil servants, we swear an oath to serve and are entrusted to protect information of confidential nature. No, that's not true. This is, you guys are in public office, not private. This disclosure, while a breach, did not constitute a risk to the Canadian public. We do not comment on personal matters. It's not a personal matter when it's taxpayer money. The Post asked the Prime Minister's office if he was ever consulted on whether to refer the Khadr leak investigation to RCMP. No, said, that was in quotes, said the one-word response to spokeswoman Eleanor Catenro. The RCMP did not immediately respond to the question of whether it investigated the leak. Through it generally does not comment on investigations unless the result in the charges. So, yeah, this just came in. This is big. It's unbelievable. This government is just fucking rotten to the core. They make Indian governments look like My Little Pony.
Well, there's something else came out a little while ago too. Is like from Colombia to Lebanon to Toronto, how the DEA probe uncovered Hezbollah's Canadian money laundering ops, and it talks about how in 2008 the DEA brought this up to the RCMP, but they just refused to prosecute it and to go forward with it. And pretty much the whole article is talking about how that the DEA warned us like more than a decade ago. We could have like stopped this whole money laundering thing in Vancouver years ago, but the RCMP just refused to investigate it, refused to cover it. And you're like, man, there's a lot of corruption going on in our government, because there was also a massive case that the RCMP and was trying to prosecute in China, in Vancouver, of this Chinese money laundering thing. It was billions of dollars worth. It was like the biggest case in Canada. And the federal prosecutors accidentally released a name of one of the informants, and then they had to completely drop the whole case, right? And it went to shit afterwards. You're like, really? You accidentally gave something, and then now, this comes out, and here I'll go to it. I'll share this.
Share the screen.
But it's pretty damning to the RCMP, honestly. But, from Colombia to Lebanon to Toronto, how the DEA probe uncovered Hezbollah's Canadian money laundering ops.
Sounds like HSBC.
But, in January 2008, a team of U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration agents traveled to Ottawa to meet the RCMP leaders. They had stunning news. The DEA said an elite group of Middle East narco-terrorists in Colombia was using Canada as a key money laundering hub. According to a former senior U.S. official with knowledge to a meeting, the DEA had dirty calls, meaning calls providing criminal evidence of cocaine shipments and cash movement in Canada, from narco kingpins in Colombia to a network of operatives in Halifax, Vancouver, Calgary, and London, Ontario. The evidence included allegations from an elite Colombian police unit. And then they're like, we were giving the RCMP dirty calls to phone numbers and identified targets in Canada. The former officials said, in our minds, that should have been enough to begin intercepts in Canada. But, but RCMP leaders didn't want to pursue the cases, according to the former official. He said the RCMP cited differences between Canadian and U.S. court disclosure rules and questions about the DEA's use of confidential sources. So they're like questioning the DEA about it.
Yeah.
Like, U.S. sources believe the RCMP missed an early opportunity to fight the incursion of sophisticated professional money laundering networks with ties to China, the Middle East, Colombia. And in this article, they're talking about how Hezbollah, they're trying to send all this drugs to America to create, division, to create not division, but like get everybody on drugs and to, make the healthcare system cost a lot of money. But we were dumbfounded, the U.S. source said. But in 2014, police officials in Canada and the U.S. finally agreed. The DEA agents tapping phones in the hills of Colombia had right all along. But, so Pablo Escobar, the Islamist party of terror organized based in Lebanon. So they're talking about Hezbollah. But yeah, it doesn't look good for the RCMP pretty much. And the article goes on for a little while.
The RCMP, isn't that the same group of bozos that were like dressing in cosplay and fucking each other up the ass in the offices and something like that? I mean, wasn't that what you didn't realize? There was it was like 2-3 years ago. The RCMP was being investigated because there's been so many accusations, like the force captains like dressing up as cosplay or women and fucking each other in the offices and stuff like that. You're not familiar with that? Dude, come on. Chat, help me out here. Come on. Where's am I right, or do I have to pull this up? Yeah, there's been.
I believe you.
Yeah. So what do you expect from?
I haven't heard about it.
RCMP is as corrupt as they get.
Oh yeah, well, I assume everything is corrupt. To be honest, like most of these like long established organizations and stuff like that, like the RCMP is definitely corrupt. But
yeah, and I believe in that article there. I believe the Americans when they say we gave all this opportunity, we gave this information to the Canadian authorities, and like it's just.
Okay, so somebody in the chat, one sec, just told me to look at the 7th line, Japlan. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but where was this? It said the committee then adopted the motion. I read this earlier too. A motion to move on to a study of how they could amend the Canadian Rights Act to stem the propagation of hateful acts and incitement of hate. The motion comes just days after the shooter attacked 2 mosques in New Zealand, killing 50 people. So yeah, he's talking about, how I was saying they're trying to change the laws in Canada with the New Zealand attack. It's like, really? Are you kidding me, guys? So
sorry, what are they trying to do?
So they want to amend the Canadian Human Rights Act to stem the propagation of hateful acts and incitement of hate. So that's a really broad definition.
What does that mean?
Incitement of hate?
Yeah.
What does incitement of hate mean?
Fuck you, AJ. Okay. Sue me. I'm inciting hate.
Me talking probably about like immigration and being replaced would be incitement of hate, and that's what pretty much. So they wanted to change our laws because of the New Zealand shooter and take away more of our freedoms, right? And you're like, it's just typical. Oh well, these white people, they get out of line. We got to make sure there's hate speech laws to make sure that they don't hurt the minority people and whatnot. And obviously white people are probably like disproportionately victims of hate crimes a lot of the times, but it's just not reported or it's not considered a hate crime, right? And you could some black guy could kill a woman and be like, I hate you, you white bitch, for slavery. I hate white people. And they'd be like, I don't know if it was racial. And same with Islamic terrorist attack. It'd be like, Allah Akbar. Allah, ISIS told me to do this. Allah Akbar. It's like you have all these connections on his computer. It'll be like, well, we're not sure. I think he's mentally ill. But that white person, he's clearly a white supremacist. Even if they're barely white, like that kid in the Parkland shooter. I think he was a Cuban or something. What was his name?
I don't remember.
But he's white enough.
Oh yeah, but they'll switch it. Like if something works in their favor, well, he's not really white. So, in that respect, New Zealand is also now considering, they're talking about it in Parliament, about car ownership, whether people should own their cars. And they're thinking about that governments should own the cars. And they basically, right. It's on loan to you. It gets so dumb to the point where, like, okay, this is your last chance. You're on the last domino standing. Time to start screaming, kicking, biting, and whatever. Go act like those SJWs, because that's the only thing that seems to work, right? You know, and if they work,
Right.
and actually, you know, the best meme that we should do right now, just like that video you showed, we should all like paint our hair green and purple, put some fake earrings in our nose, maybe dress up as girls, whatever, and walk down and say, yeah, we don't want the government. We want to have guns, and we want to have this. We want more rights. And, you know, maybe because their government people are fucking retarded, they might think, hey, this is what these people actually want. They might mistake us for that small marginal group. Or if we act like that, might think, oh, hey, these guys really want this, right? So it works to our favor in both regards. First, we mock the idiots, the retards, and secondly, we get what we want, because it seems today, the more retarded you are, the more they listen to you.
Right.
It'll come to the point where they're going to ask. We're gonna be asking retarded people to be voting. Hey, here, vote here. I don't know where do I put the check mark. No, sir. Let me hold your hand. Okay, do I put it here? That's what's gonna happen. Sorry, folks. I didn't mean to, insult poor retarded people, but they do talk funny sometimes.
Yeah, we have a good section of our audience that is mentally handicapped here, and
no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying some people might hate me because the retarded people are good by nature because they don't know evil because their brains.
Speaking about retards, look at these Toronto doctors take part in a nationwide rally for stronger gun laws, handgun ban. So I have you heard about this? Have you seen this little trend happening lately where doctors are like coming out and saying,
what's her name?
Ban guns because I see gun violence all the time and I see bullet holes in chests. So this means that I am an expert on guns and gun rights and you need to have your gun rights removed. There was this one guy in America a couple months ago, I think, after some shootings, and he was like posting pictures of a bloody face. And, he's like, I just, worked on somebody who got shot. I'm gonna post these.
Hold on, don't move that picture. Wait, let me just count for a sec. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 white people. How many? 1, 2, 3 minority. There's your problem.
I don't think nobody disagrees with you there, man.
I know, but that's
nobody's blaming minorities and brown people. Like we're saying that they're coming in, they're replacing us. But of course, it's white people. We're trying to wake up white people. That's what we're trying to.
You can't wake these people up. They're too far gone. You got to give them the schlaps. Like in that movie. Oh shit! What's the movie called? The guy slaps him in the face. It's a man slap, and he goes, "You got to give him a slap." And he brings him back to his childhood when he remembers his mother who got mad at him because he spilt the milk. I give like I did that one video where Sean Connery's talking about slapping a woman. You got to take that doctor and just give her that slap in the face and just wake her up, because these people are just logic does not work on these people. Forget it. It's too far gone. They have an agenda, or they're too fucking stupid because they've just been drinking the Kool-Aid so much. They've become the Kool-Aid.
Right. Well, either way, yeah. But I'm just saying they use it's not as you're being really pessimistic about it in the sense that, like, why do they go and try to get celebrities on their side to promote a message? Why are they going to doctors and trying to get them to go and say, hey, don't guns are bad because because they're authority figures, they have a lot of influence, and yeah, people shouldn't be they're falling for these, fallacious arguments a lot of the times, like, appeal to authority and whatnot. But like that, we can convince people to wake up. You know, like a lot of people were leftist and now like are not, but don't believe in that shit anymore. So it is possible to wake up some people. I don't think we should think like it's impossible. You know, there are a lot of idiots out there, but you know, I don't know. It's at one point white people knew the value of culture, knew the value of community, knew the value of all these things. So if that was the case at one point in history, why is it impossible for us to remember these things again in the future and do these things again? You know, if we were able to do it once, why can't we do it again? You know, why can't we? Are we just deficient now, or you know, I think we can do it again. But yeah, some of these people need a wake-up call. They need probably, you know, to see reality. But once again, if you look at the people that are most for diversity, and it all comes down to ignorance, right? It's the areas that are most white, and they're all whites, and they don't experience diversity like a bunch of other people do. Like they actually, like the regular people, the racist Republican types, like yeah, they say we're racist. Like they're the ones experiencing, you know, a lot of the ill effects and stuff with diversity. But a lot of the most liberal areas are so fucking white, are so segregated. I just saw a thing the other day, and it was all these rich area in Los Angeles is trying to, you know, vote this homeless shelter away because they don't want it bringing like bums and whatever in their area and stuff. But like, you know, but that's actually a different, it's not really has anything to do with what I'm talking about. But nonetheless, like I think a lot of them they're ignorant, and they think like, oh, you know, we got to believe in all this political correctness shit. But you know, once they experience like living in a very diverse area, and they're like, oh fuck, these people fucking hate me. Like, you know, like they'll start to like maybe wake up a little bit, but I don't know. Yeah, it is an uphill battle, and people have been subverted for such a long time through, like I say, and we can't underestimate like the amount of propaganda that is being just thrown at us continuously, because it's immense. Like I see it once you wake up to it, you know, you see it everywhere. You know, you see it.
Yeah, that's true.
Everywhere. You know, it's in movies, TVs, and you're looking. And like I say, the educational system, like that's where it's really bad, because they appeal to authority. You know, you're going into school, you're a kid, and we're naturally inclined to look up to authority figures and to listen to them and to take what they say and apply it. And because, you know, that's just how we've evolved, you know, and they're utilizing that, and you know, putting like crazy propaganda on kids' brains instead of what we should be teaching, which is truth. But now they're teaching them you can be a man and a woman and not a woman. You know, they're teaching them like things that are not true, and they're just going to confuse them in the future. But yeah, like I was saying, there's an uphill battle. But go ahead.
Yeah, and I wanted to just go back to that topic of the RCMP being a bunch of, idiots, and really either subverting pure investigation or just being, insufficient enough in the cognizance to actually go through with all the reports that are being fed to them. So I'm going to show you an article, and then maybe this is why. This is why we don't get proper investigation into things, and things get lost. But remember, I was telling you, and this is just one of a bunch. Actually, not too long ago, just on March 19th, an RCMP officer was arrested for sexually attacking young children at a school. So it says here. Yeah, I think I need to find that, but it says here, supervisor who appeared to simulate fellatio on an eggplant while at work, who allegedly texted questionable comments about black policemen and Black Lives Matter and movement, is being investigated for his conduct. But this is just one of many things that they've been caught doing. So this is why this kind of shit, like it just, they're not professionals, right? This is not how you act in a professional environment. Have some decorum, right?
Right.
And the other thing I want to bring up is Julie's here. I just want to show this too. Sorry, I just want to show this quickly because it's just happened March 14th, just this year, just last month actually. So let me share this quickly. I want to. BC RCMP officer arrested in sex misconduct case. Vancouver, an RCMP officer in Vancouver is accused of performing indecent acts while off duty near a private all-girls school in the city. So I was a little bit mistaken there. Vancouver police say the man was arrested Tuesday and has since been released on several conditions. So, okay, these people seem to get a slap on the wrist, right? Anyways, so that's that. The other thing I want to talk about is Julie Mora's latest video where she's pulling the kids out from school because the teachers are protesting Doug Ford's Sixth Curriculum Act, where he's actually pulled back the gender fluidity and all that nonsense that the previous provincial leader had put into the school system. She was
they're teaching it anyways.
They're teaching. Well, I told you I had a minor conflict with pulling my. They had a gender fluidity day in my school, so I pulled my daughter out of it, and it kind of got a little bit heated because she was quite upset. She's, well, we're taking Doug Ford to court. I'm like, why are you so engaged about what you want to do with my kids' lives? If he was elected for that reason alone, like that was one of his primary promises, right? And so anyway, at Julie's school, apparently, they're going on a protest. And so they were asking the kids if they wanted to participate and whatnot. And it's really using the kids.
Oh, yeah. They're scum. They're scum, communist, fucking scum pieces of shit. That's what they are, you know? And they're not above using children for their own, ends.
Right.
At the end of the day.
So now she's had a discussion with her children, and she went to pull them out from school. And she actually raised a good point about this. You can't just take your kids out of school. Like, if you want to take your kids out of school, you have to provide a reason to them. And to me, it's kind of odd because these are your children, right? Like, the minute they're born, they belong to you. So even if you think about it from the perspective of that they want, like, late-term abortion, you get to decide if you want to murder your child. So if it's yours at that point, then, and if it's if the child, even before late-term abortions, if it's your body, your child, your body is that piece of child, you get to murder. So why isn't it my child when they're going to school? She has to provide permission to get them out. And she made a statement that they, like she said outright, nope, I'm pulling out my daughter because I don't agree you using my daughter as a means to your end for protesting a sexual education course that most people didn't want and was voted against democratically in voting for Doug Ford. So she pulled her kid out. But I just, I wasn't familiar with that because she's in the same province as I am. And I did ask, like I did ask my younger child, and he wasn't aware, but I have to ask my my daughter if they're planning on some protest. They didn't let me know, and this is quite scary that they are actually, the teachers are.
You're cutting out there.
Their curriculum is handed down to them by whatever government is. Sorry,
you cut out there for a sec.
And I turned my mic on. Okay, what part did I lose you?
Something about government.
Right. So the government hands down the curriculum for the schools. So why are they, like, they didn't have an issue when Kathleen Wynne was pushing her LGBT issues down the school curriculum. So why do they have an issue now with the new provincial leader who was elected, you know, fair and square, don't have to like it. And now they're protesting against this. So you really know who these jackasses are. They're just a bunch of jackasses, losers.
They don't like democracy. They only like it when it works for them, right? And then it's the same with the Democrats in America. Trump wins. Oh, we're going to protest, do a pussy march and this march, and we're going to scream and moan and bitch. And Brexit, same thing. Oh, we need a new votes. The democracy didn't work. Didn't work this time. You know, it's like,
well, they keep doing this. It's nothing fucking new. People keep like, oh, look at Brexit, right? The Maastricht Treaty, which was the real, like, all these treaties. The UN has existed. The EU has existed since the Second World War. They just kept unionizing, and kept building on each treaty. The Maastricht Treaty just took more powers away from individual states and consolidated into your EU. But it was voted against. And just like the Brexit, they said, oh, guys, we're going to change things a little bit. And now we're going to do a new referendum. And mysteriously, it passed. And, you know, same with other treaties in the EU that they passed, it was voted against. Same thing that's been happening in the separation of, what's that Spanish area in Spain? They consider themselves to be different from the rest of the group.
The Basque.
Oh, thank you, Chris. Hey, Chris. Thanks for joining us.
Basque?
Yeah, the Basques. And they voted to become independent. So what does the government do? They sent their Gestapo out to beat a bunch of old ladies up. Very manly. You know, it's just clubbing them and stuff.
But look what Macron is doing to the French people right now. You've seen a lot of the videos about the protesters and stuff, like what's like the police are doing to them.
Well, yeah, he wants to march in the army right now, but you know he's just trying to decide between who is going to be the giver between him and Trudeau, because I think he's just trying to show his manliness. So at this time he could be the giver.
Well, I don't know what the fuck he's doing. He's gonna lose, but I guess there's so many different parties, and maybe he thinks that he can still win, or I don't know.
He's delusional. He's married to a grandmother.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Hey, Chris, how's it going, buddy?
Good, man. Good, man. I was taking the wife out for a date tonight, so
nice.
Sorry I couldn't join this party a little bit earlier, but I'm here now for a little while.
Yeah, well, you know what, man? Your wife comes second, and the show comes first.
My priorities are completely messed up, guys.
Yeah, you know, family second, work first. You know. Yeah. I don't know where you grew up. That's not how we do things. Oh, it makes sense.
My milk is in bags. What can I tell you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should poison those.
Jeez.
ISIS come here and like put like I don't know, fentanyl in them or something.
Interesting. Off just for for shits and giggles. Once in a while, we got to lighten up the topics because they're so fucking depressing. You just want to hang yourself. But the milk, I remember in Croatia when I was there, would come in these little triangular cartons. It was almost cryptic. Like, what were they trying to tell us? Is this a conspiracy theory of something? And it was so awkward in design that you would have to cut the tip off, and it was a triangle. It was a little cardboard triangle, and you would pour this milk into your coffee or whatever. And it came in really small, pack cardboard triangle shapes. Really weird and bizarre shit. But anyways, that's Eastern Europeans for you idiots. So.
Yeah, well, Asian people shit in like in a tub in their country.
Tub? What are you talking about? The shit's standing up, but they keep missing.
Yeah,
they keep
like
missing.
standing up. like a fucking basin, or yeah, like a big tub or something. You
No, I remember when I was traveling there and I was with my wife and she's like, I said, I gotta go. And she's like, I'll go. She goes, go there. Okay. So I go there and it's like, where's the toilet? And I said, I just see like footprints, like the shape of footprints and a fucking hole and shit everywhere. She's like, yeah, that's the toilet. I go, you gotta be kidding me. I'm not, yeah, you just sort of squat. And I go, but there's shit everywhere. Like they missed, it's on the rim and it's everywhere. I was like, this is fucking ridiculous. Get me out of here and find me a toilet, you know? So, but hey, you know, I guess that's what they're used to. I'm not going to complain in their land, right? If they want to shit on the streets, I guess I'll shit on the streets too. But anyways, I think we're getting off the topic. So, Chris, I was just talking about Julie Mora's new video where she talked about, so I didn't know this. I asked my kids, I have to ask my daughter because my son didn't know. He's too young. Sure. Apparently, there's a bunch of schools in Ontario that are going on strike, on protest.
Walkout on the 4th or 6th tomorrow.
Tomorrow. So she's pulling out her daughter because she doesn't want her daughter to be used as a tool.
Yeah.
Because they've been talking to her kids, like saying, you want to participate, you want to like color our protest. And I'm like, no, why are you engaged? This is your thing. And you shouldn't be fighting the government because the curriculum's fed to you by the government. You never had a problem when it was fed to you.
What is it, the sex ed?
Doug Ford. Yeah, the sex ed.
Or just Doug Ford in general?
Well, it's Doug Ford in general, but specifically it's the sex ed curriculum.
So
he wants to pull it back.
So the thing is, what the conservatives said about the sex ed is just responding to somebody in the chat. Is somebody was saying that tranny ed, and I said, well, they're not going to teach it as young as the liberals plan to teach it, but they're still going to teach it. They're just going to teach it years later, some of the content than the liberals plan to do it. Some of the stuff, when I saw the curriculum, and my wife knows it inside and out because of she's an ECE. And the training was very, very young. I mean, talking about things not kindergarten, but grade 1 and 2 and 3 that frankly can wait. And I think frankly should be taught in the home, not by the state. Yet again, you know, people are abdicating the responsibilities to the state for things that frankly they should be teaching at home, or frankly behind closed doors. But anyways, so yeah, that's what they're protesting for. They're protesting for more state control and mind share and parents abdicating their responsibilities once again. So anyways, so no, the government is still going to teach this stuff. They're just going to teach it later. They're going to teach it like grade 7, grade 8, rather than the primary grades.
Yeah, you know, I think the more they teach, the more, like, you know what, it's like I become progressively like more homophobic and like misogynistic as the time goes on with all of this shit.
You don't fear gay people. You just dislike them.
I'm just saying, like,
you politely dislike them.
I'm just like, fuck, this is annoying me, this shit. And they're like, these gays are like, I wouldn't have thought this before. I would have been like, I don't really have a problem with you as long as you don't, keep to yourself, whatever. But when it gets so in your face, then that's what makes people like, fuck this shit. Yeah, I'm racist. Yeah, I'm sexist. I don't give a shit. Fuck you, And it's getting to that point with me that I'm just like, yeah, man, you're a freak, and I don't even care if I offend you anymore. It's like, whatever.
Because I'm starting to get to that point too. It's too much. It's an overburden because it's affecting my life, right? Just leave me the fuck alone. Why do I have to I have to come from work and decompress, and then now I have to also re-educate my kids, right? So and things that I don't want to educate them. Like, I don't want to be talking about this shit. I just want them to focus on studying and learning and having fun, just being kids, right? Whatever happened to being kids? Now we got to force them, like I was talking earlier, Chris, about the new Netflix show, the tranny super dual gay team, whatever the fuck it is. But the fact that it really bothers me that these teachers are now, like, we have these judges who are protest SJW judges, and now we have teachers involved in heavily and engaging in this. I mean, what's with that lady's name, Falarka? That Antifa bitch that hit that guy was clubbing that guy with a piece of stick. That little midget woman, Falarka, from she was part of the public school system, and there was actually another guy with bike lock dude who actually cracked his kid's skull in.
Yeah.
And he was a teacher too.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, so many of these people that are doing all this really bullshit stuff that would get normal people arrested are teachers.
Right. Oh yeah, I know. It's troubling how many Marxists there are in schools. Like how many self-identified Marxists. And you think about it, and you're like, man, if these people were self-identified Nazis, which I consider almost like just as bad, honestly, you know, like people would be freaking out. They'd be losing their shit. But they're like, I'm a Marxist. I see this all the time. People on their Twitter are like, teacher or journalist, Marxist, this, that. And you're like, oh my God, man. But
do these fucking morons actually ever study history? Do they ever see what happened to the youth brigades there in Stalin's time, or Pol Pot or Mao? How many young people they murdered after they became, after the usefulness was ended? they just put them all into a pit and just dug them up. Like, how stupid. I watched Justin Trouble's channel the other day. It was funny. He was at it wasn't, what's that blonde girl from InfoWars? She's so funny. She's like a conceal and carry chick. They know her as the conceal and carry chick. May check and help me out. She's hilarious. She's like really pretty, blonde, very conservative. And she went out to they're just screaming and shouting. I think it was New York. And she walks up to this guy. It was out of university in New York. And she walks up to this fugly basement dwelling idiot, and she's like, the guy has a sign. She asks him, he's carrying a Marxist Stalin flag, and she asks him, okay, so like, what property rights do you believe in? He says he says socialists believe in two property rights, private and public. And then she says, okay, so what about that flag? What property right does that flag have? Well, that's communal. And he completely missed the 2 points that he already given. Like, they don't even understand socialism. They completely are oblivious to how many people died. Over 120 million people in communism had killed. Those are the ones that we only know about. We don't know about all the black bagged people in Russia. During the period after Stalin.
I thought you were about to talk about bagged milk people, and I got really scared for like half a second.
Shut up, Chris.
I mean, we're hearing communist stereo, so who knows. But anyways, go ahead.
Just got a super chat from Wow Addict 2234, $5. Look up Anthony Femenko if you're interested in possible alternate history dating. So yeah, I'll check that out. Anthony Femenko.
Let everybody donate. Let's help.
Thank you for the donation, though, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that. Let's all try to help out AJ get a second monitor so he can properly share his screens.
Oh, right. Yeah, no, that's I can buy one,
I know.
I thought about it. I was like, oh yeah, I guess, I got another. I think I got another monitor laying around. Maybe if I can find it.
So, Happy Fox said, "Can you address the STEM curriculum?" I'm not sure what. I know that's science, technology, education, and mathematics, but I'll speak lightly to it. I don't see STEM heavily being taught at my kids' school. I have, in fact, had to spend huge amounts of money on a tutor to come in every week to focus on math and science. There is a Chinese school in the area. It's called Math Olympic School, and it's pretty pricey. My wife and I are talking how we can reallocate funds because we're very tight right now. We would like to put the kids into that school because those kids, which are about 95, 98% Chinese, They often go to and some of them go to MIT or the MIT of the North, Waterloo, and study computer engineering and other very high-level disciplines, and they focus heavily on math. Now, the problem here at my school, they actually focus more on social studies, so the math is mixed. It's kind of blended. I mean, I did speak to, and here, this is, I'm not being hyperbolic here. My daughter's teacher painted her hair purple. It used to be red, now it's purple. I think she now has a nose ring, and my daughter has alluded to the fact that she brought in a picture with her son dressed as a woman. And I said, well, that doesn't make sense. Yeah, well, I tried to, sometimes kids can't perceive things properly. So I tried to kind of narrow it down. And then she says, well, she dressed him up as a girl for Halloween, but she said it's okay too. It's not a bad thing. So I know exactly where this teacher stands by the very how she presents herself. And I asked her, I said, where's the math text? Because I'm having a tutor come in once a week, and she needs the math textbook. Oh, I don't use a textbook. Well, how do you teach the math? Well, I pull it from various textbooks here, from various texts. I don't find that one particular one is good. No, why aren't you teaching from one math textbook? Can you provide me the copies? Oh, no, I actually hold on to the copies. I have people go in and log into Google, and they can see their math homework. There's hardly any math homework. And when she gets into high school, it's going to be a disaster.
Well, yeah, they were teaching like a different type of math recently. I think Doug Ford is pulling back on that and going back to more regular type math. But weren't they teaching like some weird type of math recently that wasn't really math or something? Like, they're setting kids up for failure. That's what they're doing, and then they enter university, all that stuff, and they're not prepared, and they're going to drop out. It's unfortunate.
Well, it's interesting because a lot of the Chinese kids are revolting already. It's like they have this preset to not accept the bullshit. And I have to commend them for that. They make fun of the teachers. They're starting to revolt against being fed talking about Trudeau a lot, and liberals and social justice issues. They're starting, like my son was asked to talk about which were one of the best leaders. So he went and did something on Stephen Harper. And, he pulled out some facts. He's just a young kid, right? He's just like, 10 years old. So he pulled out some facts, put a bio together, and the teacher marked them low, and I circled it where she marked them low, and because she circled an area because he said Stephen Harper did some good for good Canadians, and she circled that area. She's like, what did he do? And then didn't give him an opportunity to elaborate. She just marked them like a low grade. So I circled that back. I said, would you like me to present the details? I could certainly come into your classroom and speak about conservative or the blue machine in Ontario during that period where the Conservatives were in power for a very long time, and Ontario did very well until the Liberals came in and we went into deficit. So she doesn't like me. But they're not focusing on STEM. And that's the other thing that we have to worry about, because as and I don't think it's only precluded to white people alone, but because white people are now being told, hey, you're a white guy, you're a piece of shit. Hey, you should be gay, and you should dress as a cross-dresser, and you should murder your baby when you have it anytime, and even if it's after born. And now we're not going to teach you anything, so you're a dumb fool, so you'll just believe everything that we feed you. So that's a danger. Meanwhile, you see like the Chinese are very adamant. Oh, they'll take their kids to one of the best Chinese high schools, and they'll buy a house just to be there. Or they'll talk to relatives and said, can I have forward my mail there so I can send my kid to those schools? They will fight tooth and nail to get their kids to the best degrees, best schools, even if they're not up to snuff or not up to par, which, quite a few of them are, right? But they still push them through. And in this Olympic math school, I've been there. It's bloody hard. It's like a military camp. They get a very short break. and they're there, and they're just, the teachers are just bang, bang, algebra, boom, boom. And that's where we're going to send our children. And we're going to pay tooth and nail for it. You know, we're going to have to cut back, you know, on barely the luxuries that we do have right now. And we're going to have to send them there because they are not going to, they're going to fall behind while the rest move ahead. And I don't want that. And that's what's happening. It's an unfortunate thing.
Yeah, that's like the public school system is failing our kids, and it's getting worse and worse. And they're just pushing people through now, essentially. They're just like, well, you can barely read. Like, it's not that bad in Canada, but like in America, it's really bad too. Like, you heard about that school in Detroit where all these kids, like, you know, they just got passed. You know, they're just like, just pass them. You know, the lowest score that they could get was 50%. And they're like, you know, yeah, that's not good. Like, half of these kids can barely read when they get out of high school. And some of these teachers were teaching these kids are like, I've never experienced somebody who's in grade 12, 11 who can barely read or write. And you're like, how has that happened? And it's like, yeah, the unions have taken over the schools, and like, you know, it's just, we're getting shittier and shittier teachers, lower and lower quality. They want more and more, but they want to deliver less and less, it seems like. So yeah, it's just a corrupt system, just kind of like, you know, like the RCMP, you know, it's just another system type thing that's been around, that's controlled, you know, by the government, that just kind of degrades and teaches our kids. But we got to wrap it up pretty soon, though. If you want to end, like, if you want to make, you know, another comment there, and anybody else wants,
I just, let's give it another 15 minutes. I want to get a chance for Chris to give his input. So we did talk about a few things, but there's been a late breaking hot topic that broke just about an hour ago. The federal government was hunting down a person who leaked the Omar Khadr $10.5 million settlement. So it seems they're in hot water again, the Liberals. So I don't know if you want to talk about that, Chris, or anything else.
I know nothing about it, but I think Omar Khadr should never been released from jail for. I don't think any of these guys, child or not, I think there needs to be a massive penalty for participating in terrorist action in order to make sure that people who are radicalized here or leave and come back, let them know the door is closed on the way back. Like, there's no, for you and your children. So there's no, just to really put that strong deterrent in there to say, look, this kind of nonsense is not acceptable for our society whatsoever. You have to draw the line. I don't think the line is being drawn. And frankly, him getting 10.5 million, I think, is, I mean, despite his prison time, fine, but it's a reward for the shenanigans that went on there, and not going to dissuade people at all. So just one thing before, just to go back to that kindergarten thing, that school thing, just for a brief second. My wife is doing some teaching in some kindergarten classes as an educational assistant. And just today, just a few minutes ago when we were having our date, she was telling me about, she has a number of kids in her class who have special needs. It's a kindergarten class. And there's one child in particular who's pretty much nonverbal. So she said to the teacher, hey, we're doing evaluations of each child. There's maybe 30 kids in the class. We're doing evaluations of each child to see kind of where they're at in their development. The kids in junior kindergarten, and like, how are you able to tell what she's capable of? Like, who have you engaged from the special needs department? Teacher's like, oh, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how to tell. She doesn't talk. I'm like, yeah, but have you told anybody in the system who can help you with this, who can evaluate? Oh, I don't know. But I don't know how she's going to do in senior kindergarten next year. I'm like, well, why would you promote her to senior kindergarten if you haven't evaluated her to see that? Oh, I don't know. It's like, well, I won't be here next year. So as if to say it's not going to be my problem. I mean, that's unfortunately the attitude a lot of teachers have. That being said, I have seen the other side of that too. And a lot of it, to Fred's point about how he's putting his kids in third-party programs out of his own pocket, making a major economic sacrifice. He knows people who have their mail forwarded one place so they can get their kids in school. Believe me, I'm living that right now, because that's the kind of thing that my family does to make sure my kids can get into great schools, and also things that we pay for on the side to make sure my kids get the best education they can. In addition to the stuff that we do at home with them to educate them as well. And my wife and I were just talking about kind of like, I mean, I don't know if this is going to happen, but like, okay, well, my whole thing is we're doing all this stuff for the kids, so it's like, why? And we're surviving on one income, just mine for the time being. So I pray that I don't get sick or break my leg again. But anyways, so I'm like, what if we just kept going and, you know, cobbled together something customized for the kids to keep them out of this crazy system? So anyways, I hear where Fred's coming from, and I'm in the same place. I mean, he's because they're older than mine, but I'm in the same place. And this whole system is so crazy. Oh, one guy's asking, what is senior kindergarten? So in Ontario, kids start kindergarten at 3 or 4 years old, as soon as they're toilet trained, and but usually it's around 4, and they go into junior kindergarten.
It's daycare. It's just daycare.
It's essentially just an advanced daycare. They play, they have some lessons here and there, they're learning the basics, and essentially it's learning, a big
social justice basics.
Just another jobs program.
Well, hold on. Okay, let's it's essentially a funnel to take all the kids and try and get them all to the same level, theoretically, to get them into before they go into grade 1.
Bullshit.
So you have some kids who have been tutored at home even prior to that and knew how to read and write and do math by the time they started kindergarten, like my kids. And then you have people who have been sitting on the couch with Nona watching Y&R and Days of Our Lives and whatever is on Telelatino. Or
they tried to push oh, your kid has ADHD like they tried with mine, and oh, you need to drug him up and shit.
A lot of parents do that on purpose.
Right.
A lot of parents say their kids have ADD because in some schools they get extra attention, extra help.
Yeah.
So they do it on purpose.
Right.
But like, you know, like, yeah, they're, you know, it's, sorry, what were you saying right before this? I was going to add on to it, Chris.
Was it about the extra effort we're putting in for the kids to teach them ourselves? Was it about the cost of doing third-party actions when I'm already paying taxes for school?
Right. Yeah, that I think I was going to mention something about that too, right? Yeah. Like, you know, the fact that, you know, we got to pay for these subpar institutions, but at the same time, you got to take your kids out of school to pay again for something else. It'd be so much nicer if you just weren't taxed that and got to keep it.
Well,
to put your kid in whatever school you wanted.
I think one thing, like the American charter school system, where I could kind of redivert those tax funds or a portion of them to a private institution of my choice, that would be ideal. There is theoretically still value to the public system, but I don't want to contribute as a charity case.
That's what I was going to say. I remember now. You know, one of the bigger things that people make that you could for your kid is putting them in near the end, like when they're slightly older than all the other kids. Right. So they'll do that too, and your kid will have an advantage in sports and learning and all this shit just by virtue of being 6-7 months older, 8 months older, and that also plays a role. But I think it's like, I understand the logic behind, you know, they say, like, you know, we're trying to prepare the kids so they get, you know, ready and socialized and you know, kind of on track, you know, kind of get ahead of the game for learning and stuff. But, you know, to me, it just seems like if it's like a daycare thing, do you have to put your kids in it? I mean the kindergarten, like, are your kids now mandatory, or are they obligated? Or can you send them?
Kindergarten is not mandatory, so
but it's paid for.
It is paid for, though. Yeah. So it is paid for. It's not mandatory. So the reason why my kids, at least my first son, my second son, we may not be in the same program, as he's supposed to start kindergarten next year. Well, my wife went back to school for a year to go back to college, so she So we didn't. So we just basically sent him back to send him to kindergarten for childcare. He already went in knowing what he had to know and to learn some social skills. He already knew academically what he needed to know before he even started. So.
Right. Yeah. You know, I can see the logic behind that, but like honestly, I still don't think the government should be doing it because that's a huge cost, right? To now we got to hire teachers or a whole new, like just a whole new grade. But, you know, they're going to be like, well, parents work more today and, you know, they need more time, blah, blah, blah. And that's true. Right.
Right. But
it's like, to me, it seems like it's just another expansion of the state of the government. And it's like, oh, don't worry. Everybody's going to get, what is that? Not maternity leave, but everybody like is calling for like free daycare or something. And I think it was Ontario or something else. Like, you know, everybody wants free daycare. And that's a nice thought, but money doesn't grow on trees. And it's like people, it's just like we can just, I want free healthcare, free this.
Well, unless you live in Quebec, and then it just comes from the rest of Canada. That's like,
well, right, but that's the thing, you know. It's like we got. That's the whole problem with the whole provinces connected to the larger federal government as well, because, you know, you'll have some provinces that are really irresponsible with their programs, with their spending. So then they become huge recipients of equalization payments from other provinces that are doing it right, that are doing a good job, that aren't overspending, that aren't buying and wasting all their money and all this stupid shit. And, you know, whereas, you know, you got Ontario or this making all these regulations and all these, you know, giving all these things to people that they can't afford to pretty much pay for, but then they rely on other gut provinces to pay the tab for them, right? And you know, they're never going to ever stop taking advantage of us, like Quebec or these provinces or even Manitoba. It's a, you know, half province, or it was for a while. We're starting to kind of turn that around, but nonetheless, it's like these things, they're not going to turn around as long as they're connected to like a source that's giving them money. It's just like, you know, you got a drunk son that's a drug addict, and then you got a mom that just keeps giving him money every time he's like, oh, Mom, I need money. Mom, I need money. And you're like, okay, all right, here you go. And it's like, you know, they're never going to get better.
Don't spend it on drugs.
Yeah, don't spend it on drugs and booze again. Oh, I promise
okay, Mom.
I'm going to go look for a job. I'm going to buy bus tickets with this, and I'm going to bus around looking for it. No, you're not. You're going to go and you're going to buy drugs, and you're going to do that. And that's what's happening on a national scale with our provinces. And that's why equalization payments need to be stopped. If we want, that's the whole point of having different provinces. And we're supposed to see what works, what doesn't. If one province goes in a massive debt, then we're like, oh, let's not do that. Let's not do what they're doing. But instead, we're like, let's just keep giving them money so they can keep doing what they're doing. You're like, no, this is a bad idea. But
well, to play devil's advocate, so you know, I'm not supporting it because I want privatized education. Again, it better be fucking good too, right? If I'm paying for the money. But the thing is that the Ontario people wanted to have you know, subsidized daycare because they've been taxed so heavily, and that tax that we pay would just essentially come back into those daycares because everybody's been working 12, 13, 14-hour days. But the problem is that you see, it's again putting us into a pickle. Back into the corner we go, because for whatever we want to do, which should be a good, is actually ends up hurting us. The best thing to do is fire all these teachers.
Yeah.
Put them on contracts. I'd rather have these teachers on short-term contracts, 3 months. Let them fucking work it out. And I want to see their resumes. Oh, you were fired from that school. Why were you fired? Performance issues? Okay, fuck off. I don't want you.
Yeah. Well, just, you know, fire them.
Now I read a year ago or
a year or two ago, you know, because this is where a lot of these news came out, was that they were considering out in Alberta maybe that they should actually contract out teachers. I just don't know what's happened to that, because it seems that
well, the unions protect their jobs, right? It's how hard is it to fire teachers nowadays? It's pretty fucking hard.
It's hard to fire anybody in the union.
Well, yeah, and that's true. You know, after 3 months, you got to give like a good reason to fire somebody, even in the regular job market. Not even, but teachers have even more. Like they can like sexually assault students, and they'll still have their fucking job and shit. Yeah. But it's you know, that's why our education system is completely fucked, because we can't get rid of these bad teachers because they're protected by the unions. Yeah. So what do? Destroy the unions, fucking cut taxes and cut services. Yeah. You know, people, they want to cut taxes, but they don't want to cut services. Well, we got to cut services as well. But and we're like, oh no, the services. But we got to think about it. Yeah. You're going to have a lot more money back that you're not paying towards property taxes that are going for your school. And property taxes will actually affect more of the poor people and the rent payers and the working poor. They're actually paying more for education than they would be if they actually got that money back and they were paying into a privatized system with competition. We're actually paying probably more than we would be if it was a free market more. Like, and we don't have to, that's the thing, we don't have to cut everything right away. It can be gradual. It can be, you know, in steps. Right, but it definitely
now because they are harming our kids, right? They're just, and I if I had the time, if things were a little bit normal, I would say, fuck it, wife, stay home. Yeah. I have enough money. You're all good. You know, you want to buy yourself a stupid purse once in a while? No, but I'll buy it for you for Christmas. Stay at home. Teach the kids, here's a credit card, go have some fun. I can't do that anymore because the wife has to work too, right? We got to pay the bills. So I want it to happen immediately.
It's the boomers. I'm kidding.
But even if you cut that government, these guys, remember the economy is based on 2-income families. That's what it takes in much of this country to survive. It's based on 2-income families. Right. So that's, I mean, it's just what it takes. Yeah. I mean, even people who aren't married, or I mean, who aren't married, or who are in common law relationships, or are trying to survive. Even people who aren't in a relationship have to get roommates, because you need to have 2 people to pay your rent at least, and still have a bit of a life. So there's more than just cutting back on the government. There needs to be a societal shift, an economic shift, to allow people and families to survive and get some breathing room financially, time-wise, etc., in order to plan things effectively and be able to have one person at home, or be able to invest more in time into their kids and not abdicate so much to the government, like sheep. And even to stand up and fight some of this nonsense that's going on. Because people are unaware. They're just trusting the government. People
are scared too. And I think we shouldn't be, if we're a community, if we're a true community, we'll help each other. Right? If AJ was close to me, or Old White Guy, or any of these people in the chat, I know you for sure, right? You're close to me, and you're like family. You are family essentially. We would get together and help each other. We could work to remove these obstructions to our daily routines and our daily lives that interfere with us and damage us on a daily basis. So, but we don't, right? We're kept too busy. We're at fear, because if, you know, at any moment we say the wrong thing, well, out the door you go, and then you're branded, you're ostracized like they do in the ancient societies. You're given the scarlet letter, ding, and for what? For saying what you think, what you should be said. And the next thing is, watch, as these fucking motherfucking teaching pieces of shit, these people who can't do anything else, right? Actually, it was really interesting because there was 2 teachers arguing. I was there in front of with my daughter, because they were trying to figure out how to do long form division. They forgot how to do long form division. It's incredible. I don't know how they get their teaching certificates. And
so,
you know,
we'll end it up soon, though, in about 5 minutes, just to cut in there. But continue with your point there.
No problem. So it has to be immediate in this case, because it's gotten to the point where, you know, when you do this gradual, you know, removal, you're going to have so much resistance that's just going to stretch out, right? We have to demand change now. We have to demand the breakup of these teaching unions. They are a powerful group.
I agree with that.
The pensions that they get, these people get, it's sick.
But
Right.
you know,
They're
I'll play devil's advocate a little bit there. I think that the standards that the rest of us have for how we should be compensated and how our jobs should be taken care of, and the pensions that were there for our parents and for many of our parents, not all of them, but for the rest, our expectations have been lowered and beaten down so much that we look at these people who are making good money and have that social and have that safety net, and want them to be pulled down too, as opposed to all of us fighting to get more from, not from the government, but from these companies making massive profits off our labor. So I'll give.
But we can fight those companies easier. Stop buying their junk, right? The problem is we can't fight governments so easily. That's the problem.
Or we end up like what's her name, Jody, the former Attorney General, whatever, and Philpott from the Liberals. Yeah, okay, you're gonna leak. Bye bye. So
right.
I mean, they'll still get their pensions and all, but still.
Yeah, right. I don't even care about that whole fucking thing, and it's like whatever, just politics and shit. But yeah, like that Ray Bould and Trudeau and all that crap. Like it's. It might affect him a little bit. I think it might for a little while, but I think he'll probably recuperate over time. You know, the media will kind of cover it for now. Maybe they'll ignore it for a little while because there won't be any more revelations. Because there was the recording for a little while, and that kind of like brought it all back to the news and whatever. But
I don't know. Did you see that video I made?
Which one?
The one that I transcribed
there. Yeah.
It took me a friggin' long time. I still have to do part 2. Anyway,
but yeah, it's just the unions. I think they need to be taken down. And yeah, we're thinking about unions. Well, who's going to protect us from the corporations? Well, unions aren't a bad thing if they're not enforced by the government, which is the way it works now. Like in my old union, you had to be a part of it, and that's the way a lot of unions are working right now, where it's like you have to be in it. You can't opt out. You can't do anything like that. You have to pay them money, and then they take that money and give it to liberals. That's what they do. I was looking at the statistics of the majority of the donors during elections are unions, and the majority of the donations are to liberals. So like 90% of them or more, but that's all they're doing with our money. And we had training fees in our union. We paid them $90,000 a year, and we only were able to take out 20 of that thousand to pay towards our training fees. So it's like, what the fuck? What am I paying you this money for? You're ripping me off. And if we had just a regular collective union that you could come in and go whenever you wanted, that's cool. That's great. A way to organize all your voices to bargain against your employer. There's no problem with that, right? And it's only bad when, like I said, you have the government backing them and forcing us to be in things like that and whatnot. But otherwise, they're not necessarily a bad thing per se, but just the way that ours are working right now, they're bad, right? They're not good because we can't fire people, right?
Yeah. I remember years ago. This is before even I knew Fred. Wow, and I don't think I've ever told him this story. But we met working at Staples years ago, of all places, in a store. Yeah, it was great. Anyways, but probably a few years before, maybe a year or two before I met him, the store that I was working at in Toronto attempted to unionize. So they had it was only the second store to attempt it. The first store was attempted to do it was in Quebec, and they actually did sign off on the union stuff, and then Staples just closed the store. So and then put a stop to that. So anyway, so the union reps came in. I remember this now. The union reps came in, and that was maybe, gosh, I would have had to have been 17, 18 years old. So the union rep comes in, and this is my first time. I've heard of unions. My mom worked for Bell for 20 years. She was a member of a union. I knew lots of Bell people. We always talked about unions, but this is my first personal exposure to them. So I remember asking, you know, remember hearing about union dues. So I remember some people, the Bell people told me when I told them, hey, the union people are coming in. They said, ask them about the dues. I'm like, okay, fine. So I asked about the dues. They told me whatever amount.
The Jews?
The dues.
Oh.
Oy vey. That's a different union, buddy.
Ask
But anyway,
about the Jews.
A little bit higher up the union, behind the front man. That's where they are. But anyways, so I asked about the dudes and told me what it was, and I said, okay. And what if I choose not to be in the union? He said, oh, that's not possible. If you're going to do the union, you also be a union. I'm like, oh well, I don't want to do what everybody else is doing. I'm fine with my compensation. I'm fine with everything here. That's just gotten a big raise. I was working hard. I got a promotion. I'm like, I don't really need this. I'm good. I'm just gonna work hard and make more money. I'm okay with voting on this. And I kind of brought the union effort down for the store. The union rep looked at me and was so pissed. Anyway, so I like the idea of unions in concept, but I think after, like a lot of things, when they get to be a certain size, they get to be dysfunctional, and they have to be broken up. They have to be broken back down and then built back up. Once things get to a certain, there should be no too big to fail. When things get to a certain size, they have to be broken back down to a certain level to prevent them from getting to a size where they're just so big and unwieldy that there's no competitive
power corrupts.
Exactly. So I think even with the teachers union, the teachers should have an option, especially the size that it's at, of opting out if they don't want to be in the union and just negotiating directly like any employee of a privately owned company would be with their employer regarding their wages and compensation and everything else. And that in itself serves as some nice competition between the union and the employer. That's a competition essentially for that person to either be a part of the union or just direct with the employer.
It's a problem though. It gets more complex when you have the government and it's a government job as opposed to a private sector job, right? Because when you have a government job that the union, you know, they're unionized, let's just say like the Postal Service or something like that, they only do like nurses, right? And they have a union and all that stuff. Well, it's bad for us in that circumstance because they have a monopoly on a certain industry, so we can't do anything about it, right? When they go and protest and their union organizes this and organizes this, like when they do that, we're fucked because there's no other private sector substitute to go to because it's all done by the government. So, you know, there won't be a private sector substitute. But if you look on the private sector, even with unions in there, you won't see the striking and stuff going on as much because there's competition and because, you know, they'll just fire you and like replace you with some other fucking people. And that's not good and bad. Like that's good sometimes, but you know, that's another thing to do with immigration though too. That's why we need to stop importing so many people to make it so they can just replace people so easily by just, oh, okay, well, we're just going to get all these new workers to come in and at a cheap wage with these visa programs or whatever to replace you. But when it comes with the government, like that's when unions are especially bad, when it's government workers as well, because then it's like I say, you know, they go protest. Oh, I want to get paid all this money. I want like 6 days vacations, all paid, 2 weeks off. You know, the shit they ask for is ridiculous compared to what I get, which is nothing. You know, I don't get anything. I don't get fucking paid vacation or paid this or paid holidays, paid sick days. I don't get any of that shit. But You know, these people, they want so much of it, and they're never going to stop asking for it, and they always have us by the balls because, like I said, they have a monopoly. But like Target, they protest and be like, well, I'll just go to Walmart, whatever, like they can't do it as well, and that seems like a good thing that they can protest to get more money, but a lot of those teachers don't deserve to get that much money. They don't deserve to have the protections that they have. They should be fired. And we have too many protections in Canada, and it makes us like harder to also employ, because like I said, after 3 months in Canada here too, it's really hard to fire somebody no matter who you are, because you did your 3 months probation, and some people, they'll work for 3 months hard, and then once the 3 months is done, you just see their quality of work go straight down, and you're like, you fucking son of a bitch. It's like, you bastard. The people, they take advantage of that, but that's what you can expect. But yeah, this is gonna go on for a while if I keep going.
We can complain about this. Let's wrap this up.
Yeah, we'll wrap this up.
Yeah.
It's been going on for a while. I'm getting really tired, but thank you guys all for joining me. I really appreciate that. Everybody in the chat, thank you for the donation. Wow. If you're still here, oh yeah, you are. Prove me wrong. Well, addict, I don't know what to prove you wrong about, but centrist caused the shooting in NX. I don't know where that is.
I think it means NZ. I think it means New Zealand.
Okay. NZ. Oh yeah.
Hey, why don't you let the people know we're back on Saturday night.
Yeah, we'll be back on Saturday on Fredrick's channel.
Yep. And let's plug your appearance tomorrow on JF. I'm going to be joining you on that discussion.
Well, I'll be on Friday.
Oh, was it going to be Friday? I thought you said the okay, fine.
I think Friday.
All right.
Should be Friday. I might be on JF's channel to do a stream, but I don't really know what it's about yet, so we'll figure that out when time comes. But I'll probably do a video about it tomorrow, giving more information about it.
Make sure we know the time.
Yeah, I think it's around 7. I think he was saying 6 or 7. Yeah, Jerry, I might go on JF's. I think. What should I talk about, guys? Hey, that's what I should ask. Do you guys have any ideas of topics I should bring up?
I do. You should ask him, how's it going there? Is it raining in Quebec? No, I'm just kidding. Oh, sorry, Jeff, you're listening, buddy. I'm sorry. Or his little promoter there. I'm just having fun. No, I think what you should talk about is his idea of ethno-state, and because I think you don't want to take it to that extreme. That'll be a good topic, good little debate.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm there to debate him on anything. I was just gonna go on his show, but I'll bring up. I don't know what to talk about those. What's going on here? I don't know. Politics, race. Ask Jeff what count the white people is like there. It was scary last I was in Montreal. Okay, I'll ask him that. Talk about the upcoming elections, the Canadian elections. Okay. Yeah, I could do that. Talk about defunding the federal government. Okay, yeah. I kind of want to ask his perspective maybe more about that, because I know he's pretty libertarian when it comes to things to do with the government. And from his perspective, I've heard he sounds pretty much like me in that circumstance.
I haven't heard JF stuff yet, but is he in Quebec? Is he in Montreal?
Yeah, he's in Montreal.
Can you ask him, get his opinions on the religious clothing ban they're trying to do in Quebec for the 3rd time? Maybe he has the history about what's happened before, and if he thinks this is going to succeed this time.
Right. I was thinking about that, too. Probably bring up that since he's in Quebec there.
Mm-hmm.
But, I know he pays more attention to American politics. He's probably just completely black-pilled. I think he's black-pilled on to the point of like, yeah, no, we're fucked.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see. But either way, guys, thank you for joining me. Thanks. I hope you guys all had a great night, and we will see you again on Saturday on Fredrick channel at probably 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, maybe even earlier if you guys want to do around maybe 7 or something. If you want to,
Chris, are you okay for? We can arrange a time, but I can put up the event.
Oh, whenever we have
7 Eastern or 7
Eastern.
7 Central.
I think 8 Eastern is good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll
like
tell you what, if you guys
Eastern
get started, I'll probably jump in about half an hour later. I have to put the kids to bed, but as soon as that's done, I can join you guys.
All right, cool. All right, guys, have a good one, guys. Take it easy.
Bye.
Peace. Stop.